Record there. Okay, sorry, I'm on record now. And,
Okay.
yeah, Zoom, what I find is very helpful is that it's encrypted end to end. And so this is, let's see, I've tried it with some others, and they had found that there's a noise that comes through on Skype. There's like this, and
Yeah. That's your AI monitoring everything going on there.
oh,
So
yes,
that's
yeah,
what that is. So
that's a major problem. Well,
I'm wearing my yellow lenses, as you can see, and I got a light beaming on the thing
yeah,
because I don't need more goofy bullshit on my brain. I got enough to deal with as it is.
here you. I actually have. I'll show you my setup here. There's my yellow light up there,
Aha, there we go.
and then I've also got one lighting up my
Yeah.
my monitor. So this
Good.
is my keyboard, and wow, what a difference that makes.
Yeah, it does. You don't feel as drained. You don't feel lethargic. You don't feel like you're half in, half out.
Mm-hmm.
When you get up, you're up. You know. I got the yellow lenses, right? And so I'm driving down the road now.
Mm-hmm.
You can see who's got the LED on the car and who's got the old-fashioned halogen. The halogens are yellow,
Mm-hmm.
and LED got a green hue.
Green
When
hue.
you take the thing off, it's white.
Mm-hmm.
You put them on because you got the yellow frame. You got a greenish hue. Even all your fluorescents, they all have a green hue.
Okay.
I was driving my daughter to her place there a couple weeks ago, and I had the things on, and I looked at the moon. The moon was yellow. I haven't seen a yellow moon since I was a kid. I took them off, and there was a blue beam coming from the moon or going to the moon, literally. So next time you're outside, get yourself a pair of yellows. Look at the moon. Hey, I remember that. You know, I remember what that used to look like. And then take them off afterwards and see what you see. You're gonna like, what the hell is going on up there?
Wow.
Literally.
You know, your lenses, I wonder, is that UVEX?
No,
UV?
these are basically, all these is safety lenses I bought at a hardware store.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they may have some kind of thing there. And I got these right here.
Okay.
These at a dollar store here.
Yeah.
So you can even go like this if you want. If you really want the protection.
Okay.
Now I'm really yellowed out.
Yeah. I'll show you what I got. I have these, I picked these up at a hardware store.
Yeah, okay. What are those, orange? Oh, those are just blockers.
Let's put this back on.
No.
Did I lose you?
No, I'm here.
Okay. So this is what I've got, and they're welding glasses, basically.
Yeah.
But they're so dark.
Okay, but you got to remember something. It's about if they'll block the blue beam. You got to remember there's a blue frequency, so yellow blocks it, and I believe orange blocks it. So if it's got an orange or yellow mixture in that mix, then it'll work. If it doesn't, you're still going to get it. Okay,
yeah.
That might be good. That might be good for some other frequencies and a higher UV rating. Because again, when you got to remember when these guys are welding, because I used to weld years ago, the arc and the spark is so bright, it's like looking at the sun, and you literally would fry the retina if you didn't have something to really block the hit. Because again, when you're welding, it's just like I said, you're on top. Basically, you can get a burn, like a sunburn, by welding.
On the cornea.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
I was looking into that, and it's pretty serious. What is it? My partner's daughter, she works at a bank, and everybody's falling asleep about 2:00, between 2 and 4:30.
Yeah.
And that's about the same time I fall asleep because I know something's coming off of the computer.
Yeah.
Oh, just sort of as an update.
Did I lose the camera? What happened? Oh.
I'm looking at Independence, Indy. My partner, he works at the Swiss broadcast, and he tested at work. he had someone who was testing the monitor, the general lighting, and then also a broadcast monitor. And what he was saying is there is a blue light, and it's a low amount, but it's that's all that's necessary.
Yeah.
So I told him, you really need to get you some yellow lenses, something to. What I had seen was they're transparent. They're a UV 400 protection, and that gets the long range, the full ultraviolet rays. So, and I've seen them. They're like less than $10.
Yeah. Today, they used to use the yellow lenses years ago for truck drivers because they're driving at night.
Yeah.
So it would help. I mean, because when you put them on, it actually affects the brain where you're more awake. It's like you're seeing a light. You know, even when the headlights are coming, it actually helps block some of the glare that hits you in the eyes, especially if someone puts some brights. I mean, it can still dazzle you. You can see spots still, but it does cut that a bit. But it helps even maintaining a higher level of alert. But like I said, when you go outside, you're walking down the street and you're looking up at the city lights, they're all blue. They're all got a green tint to them. You know, so you don't need a lot of light because you're getting hit with so much of it. And it's basically Li-Fi now. Okay, now they can run frequencies through the light. They can now track you in your home if you got these things in your house. So they know exactly where you are.
Yeah. What I realized is this is the LED lights.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. LED, the CFLs, the fluorescents.
Right.
They're all putting out the same kind of thing. Why do you think they got rid of? Oh, I don't know about where you're at, but here they got rid of all the incandescent. They're getting rid of the halogens. I've been stockpiling these things. Chance I get, I'll buy cases of these lights. You know, because in the future, when your bulb burns out, you're gonna have to replace it with something, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And I watched something on the internet there. I haven't done it yet, but if it works, you can probably run a light on. I'm just using a magnetic power supply. You put two magnets together in a coil, and you connect it to the bulb. And because the magnetic field is pushing against each other, pushing one way, it drives the current through the coil, which can charge a bulb. Well, shit, you could leave that on 24/7. You're not burning any hydro. You're just using your little magnetic power supply.
Oh, so my goodness.
Yeah, so I'm looking at, I haven't had a chance. I've been working on another thing with the bifilar coils, and I've got some set up in my back. So basically, I'm always pulsing myself all the time because of this nano shit I got. Anyway, that has made a difference in turning it off. I got two bifilar coils at the foot of my bed. I got two beside me with a fan blowing, with a toroidal fan blowing on top of them. I got one against the wall and two at my base. So I'm like in a bubble, literally.
Wow.
So I'm sleeping like a baby now.
Okay. You know, I have a question. What is your copper intake these days?
Oh, I'm off the map. Off the map. Oh, the bullshit they told us about 2 milligrams. That ain't enough to go around your belly button. I mean, seriously, that's a joke.
Right. Yeah.
With the glyphosate contamination that they have infected us with, stripped everything out of you. Anyway, you can go. I'm taking anywhere from 20 to 40 times their amount. You know, if you buy chlorophyll, we got a Bernard Jensen brand here. Okay. That per tablespoon is 100 milligrams. Now, according to
100, wow.
100 milligrams, yeah. So according to the RDA requirements, you're only supposed to take 2 milligrams. That's like 50 times the amount, right?
Yeah, if I'm a mouse.
Anyway, I take, I must say close to 60 milligrams, and maybe up to 80 a day.
Okay.
Yeah. I made copper chloride, which you will see a video coming out soon when Dave releases that one.
Okay.
They show you I made copper and zinc chloride. The chlorides are the big player nobody's talking about. That's what actually knocks out your yeast, your bacteria, your viral, your fungal, your biofilm. That's what keeps the body sanitized. That's what keeps the electrical current flowing through the body. So when you're combining them with a mineral like zinc or copper or manganese or potassium or sodium or calcium, you're creating a salt that now will get into things on a cellular level. And so that's where we need to go, cellular, because that's where the things are being damaged. That's where communication networks are breaking down. That's where they gave us the wonderful silica that they sell as some sort of health panacea, which is all bullshit. Everything that I'm seeing today, and I'm working with another guy I'm collaborating with out of the East Coast in the U.S. He's another genius type guy too. And we are looking at things. When he first got started, there were some things I was doing had him kind of, because again, you read so much stuff, right? Yeah, I told him that's all bullshit. I said, seriously, you couldn't treat nothing with that. I said, you're never going to fix anything. So you got to go way high and you ain't going to die like they tell you.
Exactly.
Just go up slowly, until you find your tolerance and then go from there. I said, so then we start looking at it. I've always used essential oils, so has he, but he's used ones that I've never used because same thing. I had this thing in my head because they said this was like Tagus and some of the ones were dangerous. He says, no, that's all bullshit too. He said, hell, I've been using that stuff and I'm still here. It all depends what it is you're doing, what you're using, and then you start off in dilutions so you get to a point where you can handle because the moment you take anything like on that realm, it can knock you on your ass, especially if you're already compromised. Sodium thiosulfate is one of those equalizers. It starts pulling the shit out of you that's keeping you in a compromised state, so that when you then get going on other things, you're moving on up. So like you're getting better and better and better kind of thing. Where we're all compromised is in the gut. None of us are digesting nothing because the ducts in the gut are clogged with smart dust, smart particles, nanodust, nanobiology. Then we got all the genetic shit that they put in our food. And you keep looking at all this things like, what the heck? And then you wonder why, by the time you reach 50 or 60 years old, you feel like death is taken upon because you're dying, because you got 50 years of accumulating this crap. And unless you fasted and did things like that, along the way to kind of slow it down or slow down the intake, if all you did was eat all the time, or, then you shot yourself in the foot, literally.
Right. That's so true.
That's
so true. What I have found is all the salts that I've been accumulating. I don't know if you saw my one Life Water video, but it's about taking one's own urine and I make a copper urate out of it. And I really appreciate your work in terms of removing nano. Because removing the nano from the urine, that's like key,
Because I got another guy down in South America, and I've been trying to tell him, urine therapy ain't what it used to be, because you're pissing out all this nanoparticulates. So now you're going to drink that and reload the body back with what it just pumped out. So I'm still seeing benefits. It says you're seeing short-term benefits. Long-term, you're not looking at, because up the way you're still breaking down the genetic code. Because you're holding the shit back in. So anyway, he still has guy's head around that. And I says, I'm not against urine therapy. I'm against what's going on today with some of these therapies because we're not properly evaluating them anymore.
No, that's true. That's true.
But if the therapy you're using is contaminated, what are you going to get out of it? You might get something. I'm sure that still does work on some. We were giving stuff for cancer years ago. 8 out of 10 people were beating it with just what we were giving. Okay. Now that same formulation, if we get 5 out of 10, that's what we're getting today, because everything has changed so dramatically that the mutations have become so much more prevalent that the old ways of getting it done isn't working like it used to. So now we have to alter or evaluate what we're doing and either add stuff to it or change it, because it may not work no more like it used to, because now we're dealing with a anomaly in the system that wasn't there before.
That's true. What I had seen was this, let's see, Deagle.com. Did you see that article about population control?
Oh, that's an old one. That's about 10 years outdated.
Is it?
Yeah, it's about 10 years outdated. He had that out about 10 years ago. Whether or not that's true or not, I don't know. I do know if you go past nano,
Mm-hmm.
you get into the AI thing, that becomes really a nail biter there, because now we're looking at why aren't they not fixing people anymore? Like, why isn't people getting because they got replacements already. They don't need healers up the way, because healers are going to be not used, because I can now take your DNA, incorporate it to a nano program, and I can create another one just like you with this nano feature in it, and connect it to an artificial intelligence. And now I can have you doing work, or your clone doing a job, or a construct, that's a better word, really, a construct doing your job, doing it better than you, and will last longer. And all I need to do is keep on improving on the model, which, again, the AI can do that, because now you're connected to the AI, right? So when you're looking at the whole game plan, I use a lot of biblical references, because when you're looking at that book, and you're looking at what the religions that use that book have done, they have been given certain wording and certain things that has fogged up the perspective or the view. You're looking at Genesis, you're looking at genetics, you're looking at cymatics, you're looking at photonics, you're looking at programming. Okay, if you look at Adam, and just in his construct, dust from the sky, dust from the earth, that's bacteria. That's bacteria.
Yeah.
God put that together, created a life, and then breathed life into it. Upload the program or download the program. Now we have Adam running. Adam then gets put to sleep. A rib gets taken out of him, a rib, and out of that rib, a woman is formed. Now that's genetics on a level that's way off the map. I mean, even to this day, nobody knows how to do that. Okay, so created two life forms now, and have been given a program parameter that you can have anything in the garden except from the forbidden fruit. It doesn't say apple, forbidden fruit. Why does it say forbidden fruit? Because that's what it was called. That's the program. When she ate that, she downloaded a program. That's why God said not to eat it, because you're going to download a bad program. Then she gave it to Adam. How does that work? He's a mainframe. She's a peripheral.
Oh.
Think of it that way.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, a peripheral. Now, what happens? The serpent or the rogue or the virus or the viral program comes along and says, you won't die like God said. You'll be like God. You're no good for me, right? And that's some bullshit. So he gives it, so she eats it because she now has been infected by a program, which is now downloading another program, which is now taking it to the mainframe, which is affecting the mainframe. So what does God say when it comes out? Adam, where are you? It's not that he did. It's not. Think about that statement. Here's an omniscient, omnipotent God who knows everything and sees everything. So why is he asking, where are you? Because he's no longer connected to the God program. He's been disengaged from the God program, and now he's connected to the forbidden fruit program. And that's the operating system we've been running on all this time. And this is why we keep going in the same circle, same bullshit, same game, because its program is to keep us to a certain level and to keep devolving us down lower, 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 lower. Now, you ever seen pictures of Cro-Magnon and Neanderthal?
Neanderthal, yeah.
Okay. We didn't come from that. That's where they took us back to. It's all been in reverse. Okay. When you look at the biblical template, wow. God made man upright. Mm-hmm. He didn't make man to be a monkey, he made him upright. So by program design, we were always whatever we were supposed to be, but the forbidden fruit program brought man back down to a Neanderthal or Cro-Magnon level. And then they started this process all over again with a new directive or a new paradigm for this life or this construct to go into, okay?
Oh my goodness.
That's how, like I said, when you start looking at this, you say, wait a minute, none of this shit's making, what they're telling us is not making any sense whatsoever. It's just one big pile of rubbish. Mm-hmm. Look at the prophecies in Daniel. Nebuchadnezzar had a dream. In this dream, he saw a statue. The head was gold, then there was silver, then there was copper, then there was brass, then there was tin, then there was iron, then iron and clay. or something along that line. Well, the gold was the golden, it was the highest realm that we had ever reached, scientifically, artistically, philosophically. I mean, it was it. It was our epitome. And ever since then, we've been brought down, down, down. The Bronze Age were the times of the Egyptians. Somewhere in that construct, the Atlanteans were around. Someplace in that country, the people of Ur were around. So, and so forth and so on, right? You had the Persians, you had the Medes, you had the Greeks, all of them. And so we got down to the Roman Empire, and then iron and clay, which was the lowest of the low. Okay? Iron, nanotechnology, clay, human DNA. Put together. Boom.
Well, would that be why there is iron pots that are used? I mean,
iron pots in the past were because they were people of iron.
mm-hmm.
They weren't integrated with any tech. Okay, or they were all tech, however you want to look at it.
Okay.
But now we got clay, which is DNA or human DNA or mankind's DNA, intermixing with iron, which is technology.
Okay, right.
But basically, you've taken life and you made it. You've done something. You violated the whole aspect of creation, and it has kept going down, 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 down. Okay. This technology we got today, we're at the bottom of the totem pole here. We could not be any lower than the next stage is just expired. Because once human DNA or mankind's DNA is completely incorporated into artificial intelligence, it is no longer life. It's now a program or a subroutine. Okay. When Elon Musk says he's going to put a tether in your brain so that you can be like so you can have the ability to deal with the new and improved genetic human being, well, these aren't going to be human. They're going to be extensions or peripherals of the artificial intelligence. That's all they're going to be. So when you put a thread in your head and you're connected now to the AI, that cuts two ways. The AI now recognizes you as part of its program, and you have flaws. So now it's going to rewrite your code so that it fits its paradigm. So that again, they forget some of the minor, because the thing can write its own program. It can upgrade itself. It doesn't need a programmer. Even the programmers don't know how it does things. I figured that out. That didn't take much. It can fix things because if it can assimilate whatever it assimilates, it's now part of its program subroutines, and it can now write whatever program or script it wants into its program operating system to make whatever it needs to work.
Wow.
So it controls the financial institution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. It controls your military. When you watch
Yes.
that guy there, Jay Cutler or whatever, Jay something, AI is killing us. He says a drone takes off, flies into a kill zone, wipes out everything in the sight, and then takes off and lands on the aircraft carrier in the ocean without any orders from the higher ups or in the military-industrial complex. It is operating on its own operating system or paradigm. It sees this is a problem. It's going to correct the problem. It doesn't look at the value of the life. Doesn't look at anything. It's a problem child. We'll take it out.
This I could see. I mean, it's unfortunate. This is actually how things sort of operate on a societal level here at Switzerland, which is a big statement to make. But just how my father-in-law he's turning 90 this year, and he still lives alone, and he wants to remain independent. And he came over for dinner one night, and we had a dinner party here. And it was getting late for him. He had to go catch the train and go. And it was that it's not within the Swiss culture to go and escort him back to the train station. So he has to, slightly wobbly and a little drunk, go over to the train station on his own. But it was, I had taken it upon myself to go and walk him over. It's the cultural thing that I'm seeing here, that people are all fending for themselves. And people would think Switzerland is really up there in terms of quality of life, yes, but what they have to pay back, it's like everybody just lives for the weekend and their vacation.
That's everywhere. That's everywhere. Everywhere. That's the program.
Yes,
You bust your ass for those 2 days.
mhm.
Those 2 days, you're getting laid, you're getting drunk, you're eating, gorging yourself, and you're, being a complete asshole. And then Monday, you start over. You go back into your little whatever it is you were doing. This is why I tell people work is way overrated. Way overrated. You
Yeah,
know, uh, that's and the suicide rates are high everywhere. They were saying something about that today in the United States, that the suicide rates have gone off the deep end.
hmm.
Well, you got nothing to live for, really. I've said on many of my shows, if you're 15 and under, you're not going to see 30. There's no way you're going to see 30. They're not eating anything except programmable nanites in the food supply, which is designed then to start deactivating their DNA at any given point in time, or when the program kicks in, and then they start the same thing all over again. But by the time they're 30, 35 years old, I'm going to be dead. Cancer, autoimmune disorders, fibromyalgia, diabetes, mental disorders, autonomous nervous system breakdown, and then they're going to experiment on with, different genetic or DNA ideas. And if they die, oh, well, there's another one right around the corner. We've got 7 billion test subjects. It's not a problem, not a problem.
No.
So that's how you have to see what's going on. Well, I bet you any money the same thing's going on there that's going on here. The doctors are no longer fixing anybody there at all. Nobody. You go to the doctor, you get your drug, you get your fix, you go home, you take the stuff, you feel like shit. After a while, you say, F this. You go get your bottle of brandy. This works better. You go back to the doctor. He says you've got a cholesterol issue. Take more statins, or you got a diabetic issue. Take this drug, or you got something going on with your head. You're too stressed out. You got anxiety, post-traumatic stress. Here's a downer. Take these downers. Before you know it, you're so down you can't get up anymore, and you're dead. And like I said, they're not fixing anybody anymore. People come to see me. They go to a doctor. As they come in, doctor gave me this shit. What do you got?
Okay.
That's how they talk. But because here everybody's salt of the earth, right?
Right.
So and Canadians had we use the F word a lot. That's one of the part of the vocabulary. F this, F that, F the government, FRO, whatever. We're very proficient with the F word. That's Canadian tongues. If you're speaking Canadian, you got to use the F word, or you're not speaking Canadian.
Okay. Well, I've come to appreciate that more because there's been so much restraint elsewhere that I've been, and it's just not acceptable in some cases. In many cases here, anyway.
The way it is, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. The way this is how I see it. I'm been through the ringer, been through the fires of this shithole. I have lost what I've lost. It's always a losing. You don't really gain much back. There is a trade-off, though, and it takes a while to understand this. When you go through all the crap you go through, and you begin to realize, you know what, the whole bloody thing's a lie. The whole effing thing is a lie. All of it. Okay, all of it. So at this point, the only way they're going to hear it is if you hit them hard, right between the eyes, and you tell it just the way it is, how it is. They don't give a shit. I don't give a shit what they do with it afterwards. I have done my part to tell them the truth. If they don't want to hear it, say, Levy, I'm moving on. You're going to be stuck in that little quagmire. You need more pain. You need to be beat up a little bit more. You're just not quite ready yet to hear the truth. Fine. Go get beat up some more. That's how I see it. Because that's the only way you wake up is if you go through hell in this life. Because if everything's fine, you got money coming in, you can eat whatever you want, you can drink whatever you want, you can boink who you like, you can buy whatever you like, you got the so-called security for jobs. Well, why are you going to change? Why would you change?
Right.
You're not going to. But the moment you get hit with something hard between the eyes, it's like it knocks you on your ass. Then you're like, okay, that hurts. You got my undivided attention. What is it that I'm supposed to be seeing here? And you still can't see it because you got to go. You got to undo the programming, and that takes time. I refer to the Gospel in John 3, where Jesus says you got to be born anew, or born again. But that is the most profound statement anybody ever told us. I mean, think about this for 1 minute. You got a guy, he's a king. He's the king of the universe. gets off his throne to come down here to save our sorry asses, and then tells us what we have to do. You have to, because you can't see the kingdom of God unless you're born again, because we're caught up in the program. And as long as you're caught up in the program, you can't see anything. You got religion, that doesn't take you anywhere but the hell in a handbasket. All these bastards in the pulpit, all they are is a bunch of bullshitters, all of them, right? They want your money and they want to tether you. So they're tethering your ass. The government, what does the government want? They want your money and also to tether you. So you got two tethers on your throat. You're never going to see nothing except whatever they want you to see. So when he's telling you that is so profound that anybody has ever told us that. Period. Right there in front. And again, nobody gets it. Nobody gets it. And so I had a buddy of mine come tell me the other day, well, sounds really weird. He's going to sacrifice his blood. I says, because the blood has the original DNA template that we were supposed to be in, not this forbidden fruit program. So he had to come down here and give us a reboot. Just talking in a technical term. So when you get the blood on you, your DNA now is being restored. Now the problem we have is to get rid of this programming shit that we've accumulated all of us. That's where it becomes fun, And then and the concept that how he came here like the rest of us. He was born. He had to come through a portal. So the woman's vagina is a portal, right?
That's right.
One portal. Then he came down and told us what we had to do. You got to be born again. You ain't going to see it any other way, And you have to be born of water and the spirit. Clones don't make it. Clones are born of water and a program. Okay, they get a download. Okay, born of water and God's spirit. That's the only way you're going to get in there. The other race is all bullshit. When the Pope comes out, the clones ain't going nowhere except back into the earth to replenish the soil. That's all they're going to be good for. Proteins and whatnot. So he's telling you got to first come alive. Then when he dies, what's he do? He's going through another portal. It's called death. We go through it too. Okay. What did he do down there? He preached for 3 days to set those people free. I sometimes think that was us. Got us to get us ready to launch and get the hell off here. Because you think about it, how many people have died before he got here?
Right.
And so he's freeing everybody. So then he comes back outside the portals on his own. So now he knows where he's going. I always tell him, if we died right now, all of us died right now. I said, okay, how are we going to get to heaven? Are we going to catch a cab? What's going to come pick us up? There's an airplane going to say, hey, going, flight 111 going to heaven. We don't know how to get there. None of us know. He's been there. There, back and back again, So, so that only makes sense. That's why that's the only one that ever made sense to me, because everybody else is dead. Muhammad's still in the grave. Moses is still in the grave. Buddha's still in the grave. They're all in the grave. Where did they go? In the grave. So if you follow them, where are you going to go? In the grave. Think about that.
Yeah, that's what's coming to mind is there was a comment someone had made on this YouTube channel, and it was life doesn't really end because this energy, we're all energy.
Yeah.
And so we go somewhere. And if we go somewhere, and we're in this system of control, this control system, then perhaps we go someplace like in storage until we have this opportunity to be born. Because recently I just realized how amazing is it that this man before me that I'm on a Zoom session with didn't end up working for the cabal. How is it that I didn't end up working for the cabal? And each and every individual who's alive is this potential, or we've kind of been given a pass to be here because we could have somehow contributed to this cabal system.
Oh, we did. We all did. But the thing was, there was, again, talking about spirit, right? Let's go back to that. What you want to call energy, I call spirit. That spirit comes from God. So when it starts to, when you start coming into sentience, coming into your program, questions get asked. Why am I here? What's the whole point of it all? I'm going to die one day. So why be here in the first place? And why didn't I? I got a buddy of mine. He believes in a different belief system, and we get along great. That's Brian 396.
Okay.
So he says to me, he chose to come down here. And I said, why in the world would you choose to come to this shithole? He said, because to elevate my spirituality. I says, that doesn't make any sense to me. He says, why not? Because you're already in a higher realm of spirituality. Why would you lower yourself? That doesn't make no sense whatsoever to me. He said, well, you chose to come down here too. He says, well, no, time out there. That's your belief.
Okay.
I got drafted. You got drafted? Yeah, I got drafted. I took one look down there and said, no effing way. No, not coming down there. That's a shithole. No. So God lined us up and said, who will go for us? And I said, I kept my head straight, not happening. Everybody took 3 steps back. God said, we have a winner. And I said, who? Here I am.
Well, I'm glad you were recruited.
I was drafted. That's not a recruitment. That's a draft. When anybody tells you today you got a choice, that's bullshit too. Nobody has any choices. That's the illusion. That is such the illusion. I always tell people, again, going back to the Bible, Moses was out there minding his own business. He had a couple wives, had some sheep. He had the life. He left the kingdom himself. He said, I've had enough of that bullshit. I had the simpler life. God has a burning bush and says, and Moses says, okay, you got my undivided attention. Here's a bush burning up and not burning up. Like fires everywhere, but it's not burning. So, okay. So then God talks to him. He says, I need you to go to Egypt. Yeah, no. He says, no. He said, no. He says, well, how come? And that's where me and Moses have 2 things in common. Both of us said no. And he said he was a man of unclean lips. We have that in common.
Okay.
Because he was going to tell the Pharaoh to F off. Him and the Pharaoh didn't see eye to eye. And he would have told him FRO and big, undeclared compromise. You're F, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So, and Jonah not only said no, got on the boat, went the other way. That's how adamant he was. And what happened there? A tsunami from hell hit that boat. Okay, he was down sleeping. The captain says, get out here and get a bucket and start bailing. We're going under. So the guy says, throw me over. And the captain says, what? Throw you over? You see that tsunami out there? He says, how long do you think you're going to last in that? He says, throw me over. It'll stop. He says, whatever you're smoking, drinking, or injecting, you need to quit. Grab a bucket. We're going under if you don't help. So after he kept telling him, throw him over, they finally threw him over. But the water stopped. This big fish, that's what it calls, this fish, picked him up. And what did it do? It took him all the way back to Nineveh. He was 3 days in the belly of a fish. Right. So you got no choice. When God calls you, you're on your way. That's it. You got no choice. You are there. See, and you people have this idea that you have choices. Everything you do in this life is to bring you to a point of awakening. Everything. Mm-hmm. And you have several opportunities in your life to wake up. Okay. Sometimes the program is pretty entrenched. So sometimes it takes a hell of a beating to get you to wake up to the unreality. And in the end, even to the very end, you have an opportunity. Sometimes at the very end, you say, oh, no, I don't buy it, and it's all bullshit. Then you basically bought it, Then at that point, you're in the hands of eternity. Wherever you wind up, wherever you go, and however you, my call, I'm here to do my thing and go and leave and whatever, And the sooner he comes, because he says if he doesn't come back, no flesh would be saved. We were talking about that earlier today. And that statement is so profound too when you think about it. Either he says, when he comes back, will he find faith on earth? So that would mean then all the believers are either all dead or have been all taken over.
Right.
Think about that statement.
Yeah.
Yeah. Will he find faith on earth? Well, I mean, are we all dead or have we been assimilated? Hopefully I'm dead. I don't want any assimilations. And I hope I burst into a flame because I don't even want to leave my DNA behind. I don't want to take any part of my DNA to make something violating anything. Mm-hmm. That's how repulsive it is to allow that to happen.
Right.
So
there is this a movie that was done in 2010 with Leonardo DiCaprio. It was called Inception.
Okay.
And it goes over this, it explains all the deceptions and the lies, and how it's so carefully constructed and construed. It's just amazing. It's like the Matrix's Merovingian who explains causality.
Yeah.
This movie Inception actually illustrates it.
Yeah.
And so I feel like this all the time when I just some coincidence. It's like this cannot be a coincidence.
No.
There is nothing as a such.
I don't believe in any coincidence. The way I look at it is, like you said, cause and reaction, or cause and action, and sometimes an action creates a cause, sometimes when we see activity that is violating or corrupting, or like the pedophile shit that goes on, that's been going on forever, right? What kind of shit is that kind of thing? And why would that even be on this planet? So I know that cannot even be, has nothing to do with mankind at all. See, I try to keep the words separate, mankind and humanity, because they're two separate things. One is an actual race. Mankind is a race that God created. Humanity is an entitlement that the globalists created to diminish God's creation by putting them in servitude or in some kind of program. So we have to really watch. Like I'm trying to stop myself from using the term Jew, because the actual word, it means something very, very demeaning. It would be equivalent to the N word for Negro. So the proper entitlement would be people of Israel, or people from the land of Israel, or Israelites, because that's what they are. They're coming from Israel. They're not coming from Jew land. They're coming from Israel. So they should be called people of Israel, okay, by right. But because the globalists, again, created this double speech and this context of terms, that every time you talk about somebody who is Jewish, it's usually in a negative tone. It's deferred in a negative tone. So basically, the correct terminology would be people of Israel. Just like if somebody is of dark skin, they're not black. I've never seen a black man in my life, never. But I have seen people of color in my life, different shades of brown. Okay, different shades of, and it's basically all different shades of brown. So you got the Caucasians who are very pale. You got the Asians who have a yellowish tint to them, or that's sort of in between that and brown. Then you got the Hispanic cultures, East Indian cultures, then you got African cultures. But you've never seen anybody black, and you've never seen anybody white. Again, these are terminologies that they threw out there to create separation.
Exactly.
That's all that was all about.
Mm-hmm. We are all.
Show me a white man. Show me a white man. Show me a real white man. Color white, from what I was, is that's the color white.
Okay.
I've never seen anybody look like that, ever. Now, that shirt you got on looks like it's black, or your hair is black, or very dark brown. But okay, that's the color black. Now, I've never seen anybody look like that either.
Nope.
Not with that color. Now, if there is something like that, and then my question is, are they from here, or are they from somewhere else?
They could be from somewhere else. I mean, we're all from somewhere else.
Yeah. So, but But again, this was also a terminology. Look at that whole terminology. Why are we even using these terms? They've been, again, implemented into us. This is how we're programmed to speak now. This is how we talk. We don't talk. We talk in terms of species. The human species, the female species, the male species. We're not a species. We're a people. That's what we are.
Well, I'd say people, which was used in the U.S. Constitution, really only applied to those who signed the Constitution and their descendants.
Yeah.
So I always go back to, I realize English language is legalese. And I would never have known that if I didn't come here to study German language.
Yeah. That's why they say ignorance of the law is no excuse, because you have to get a lawyer Because we've got three laws. We've got a maritime law. You got oh hell, there's two other ones. So it all depends which one they're using to screw. That's what you got to know. And which one are they using to screw you? So this is where you have to get a lawyer to come in to defend you, because and then when you go into a court law, you can't call yourself human, and you can't call yourself by your name because you are property. Okay.
Well, yes, the I think it's law merchant law.
Yeah.
And then there's the admiralty law.
That's okay.
And what it is that flag with the gold fringe around it.
Yeah.
Like the U.S. flag, that flag is in every federal building in the U.S.
Yeah.
And also any state building as well. But it's also, let's see, in the courtrooms as well.
Yeah.
And the big part of that is that law, that is the wartime flag. And so there's a civil flag, or the peacetime flag, which is vertical. And it doesn't look anything. It just, that, you know what? It actually showed up here on the Swiss TV.
Oh, did it?
It did. It showed up like last week, and I was like, what's that? And then my partner, he sent me a message. He said, hey, Shana, did you see that? Did you see that flag? I said, no, I didn't. But then I had to go and look at it, and I looked further into it, and I realized something's up.
Well, the thing about the United States, they're not happy unless they're in a war. And they're not happy unless they're starting a war. They have to have war in order to exist. And they have to dominate other countries in order to thrive. That concept of capitalism and their so-called democracy cannot exist in all reality unless it's based on slavery.
Yes.
It's all based on slavery. In other words, I've invaded your country. Now I'm taking your resources, which now you're working to provide for me so that I can be free to go and conquer somebody else. You know.
This is how it's all, a lot of things changed after the Civil War.
Yeah.
And
There's the two major changes was the First and Second World War. The First World War tilted the axis. The Second World War just spun it, you know, and we've been spiraling ever since. And I think those two wars, especially the two bombs that were dropped in Nagasaki and Hiroshima, I think what happened there is it threw us out of time. It literally threw us out of our time process. I think I always tell people I'm out of time. Not that I'm dying. I'm not in the time stream. I have no concept of time anymore. You know, I run a 19-hour day. I don't have unless I look at my clock, I have no idea the time whatsoever.
right.
So, you know, and when you're out of time, guess what? You start functioning like you're out of time. And then you can operate 19, 20 hours, you know. Sometimes you need a nap, and that's all it takes, you know. Tesla only functioned like on a couple hours of sleep, 1 to 3 hours. I do that too now, 3 to 4. You know, 5 is ideal for me, but 4 I can get by. And some days I used to worry about sleep. Now, yeah, hell with it. You know, I'll get up when I get up, and 4 hours later I'm up. You know, well, because you begin to realize that everything we have been taught is fucked. Period. Okay, the time concept is totally screwed up. That's, again, another tether. You get up at a certain time, you have breakfast, you have a shower, get your clothes on, drive to work. You're there from 8 in the morning, 5 at night. You punch a clock. You have a break time at 9 or 10. You have lunch at 12 or 1. You have break again 3 or 4. You know, you punch a clock. You get in your car. You have to put up with traffic for an hour and a half. You know, that's all time.
Yes.
It's all part of the time thing. You get home, you're cranky, you have something to eat, you shower, you watch TV, go to bed, get up, and do the same thing all over again. You know? And if you're married, you slap the dog, kiss the dog, slap the wife, and move on. And that's how things work.
It's a little rough with you then.
Well, not with me. I'm single.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm a free man. I'm a free man.
Thank goodness, huh?
No. See, that's the other thing. Marriage, when you look at it, is a liability.
Oh, it is.
The laws have got you so over the barrel on that. It's
Mhm.
designed first to take away all rights of men. Men have no rights in marriage. You know, you take your testicles, hang them on a guillotine, and let the blades fly, because that's about what it boils down to in a marriage. You know,
Yeah.
that that little bit of entertainment you have sexually, you'll see more action before you get to that point than after. Once you
Oh,
get to,
wait a minute. Wait a minute.
for most, I'd say about 80% of the men, that's the
Okay.
way it is. I
Okay.
was fortunate. No matter who I was with, I was getting activity all the time. But
Well, you
uh,
were sure to come.
there you go.
Sorry.
Sooner or later.
Yeah.
Sooner or later. But no, but you talk to these guys and these people today. What did they do in our generation? They caused, the statistics was 5 out of 6 people who believed in God were divorced, and 7 out of 8 who didn't believe were divorced. So the only reason why the statistics percentage-wise is the exact same thing, you know, just the way they played the number game there. But if you had asked 8 people that were, again, believing in God and 8 that didn't, the statistic would have been the same, 7 out of 8. That's like 90%,
Wow.
you know, 90 some odd percent fail. And then another statistic, if you have 1 kid, your divorce rate within the first 3 years is like 95%. If you have 2 kids within 5 years, it drops down to about 54%. If you have 3 kids in 5 years, it drops down to about 34%. And if you have 4 kids, it drops down to 3. The reason why it drops down to 3 is because nobody can afford to raise the kids on their own. You can't afford the alimony or the child support, so you stay together.
But also, when there's more children, the IQs of the parents drop as well. There's correlative studies on this.
Really?
Yeah.
IQ of the parents drop?
Yeah.
I'm done having kids.
No. I mean, once the kids are out of the house, then you eventually stabilize, and then you're able to fulfill your own needs this way.
Well, well, I can see how that works,
Mm-hmm.
because you're going to the same job over and over for
Oh
20
yeah,
years or whatever.
because
And
you've
if they
got to.
go to university and you got another 5-10 years of same job over and over. So by the time they're done university, you've retired, and so you don't care if your brain evolves or not. You're ready for the box, you
Oh
know.
gosh, it shouldn't be that way. I mean,
No, not at all. After that's done, you should be able to have at least another 40 years where you can live and do
mhm.
the things you want to do. But that's not the reality. Even the Hansas, 120 to 140, they're the oldest living people on the planet, not the Japanese, that they try to propagate that nonsense, okay? They're now dying at 80, 85 because they're starting to eat the same shit that everybody else is eating. But if they stick to their own diet and their own style, they're 120, 140, and they're having babies at 70.
Who are these again?
The Hansas.
Hunts from Asia.
Russia.
Ah, okay, Russia. Wow.
All the oldest living cultures on the planet live
Mhm.
in the harshest environments on the planet, I found. There's another culture in the Middle East, 125. They're
Oh,
in the bloody desert. The Hopi Indians in southwestern United States, 110. That's
wow.
their average lifespan, you know. There's another one in northern Italy near the Swiss border, Swedish border. Their average lifespan is 115.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and again, we're talking a harsh environment. um, they're not eating the crap that America and Canada are exporting to the world. Trump is making a big to-do about how Europeans are not buying farm goods. He said that's not fair to the farmers. Well, quit putting shit in your food, and maybe they'll buy it. That's how I looked at it. Who's
Yeah.
going to want to eat? Well, you take one look at the Americans, and they've got the sickest society going. So who in their right mind said, yeah, bring your corn over here. We want to look just like you. Yeah, bring it over.
That is, with your last podcast where you had mentioned this disfiguring of the hips.
Yeah.
Who is it? I had a contact I was speaking to the other day, and she was mentioning about she was in Mexico for a while, and then she's in Vermont now. and she was just amazed. She was gone for about 8 months, and it was a bit of a cultural shock to see this disfiguration on the women, but then also the young men. The men are like little doughboys or something.
Yeah, they got boobs, they got hips, and they got an ass. Okay. When
And
I grew
things
up,
jiggle. Yeah.
huh?
And
Yeah, well,
things
yeah,
jiggle.
they need a bra and they need a girdle. Yeah, it's literally, you know, they got no willy, they got no penis to speak of. You know, that's all shrinking down again to diminish the capacity to reproduce. Women are having problems in some circumstances to even be able to receive a male organ, because the nitric oxide that's required to cause the vaginal lips to swell is not being activated by the estrogen that's supposed to be there. So what's happening is there's no blood flow. Nitric oxide works for both men and women. For the guys, it gives them the erection. For the women, it allows the swelling of the lips so that they can stretch and receive the male, and also provide the lubrication so it's not a painful activity. It's a very pleasant one, right? The orgasm is usually supposed to be a pleasant one. So when the woman's going, oh, yes, 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 or oh, it's supposed to be a happy moment. But she's going, oh, get out, you're killing me. That's not a good time, okay?
Right.
And the energy that's being transferred, okay, an orgasm, again, is a lack of a better word, not a positive energy, but the right energy to initiate conception.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a pleasurable thing. It's okay, we're bringing life in, we're procreating. The other one is a traumatic energy, static, erratic trauma. So now that's transferring over into that procreative process. So now you got two kids that come out, one that had the orgasm or the pleasant effect, and the other one that had the traumatic effect, and you can see a difference, huge difference. So when you're looking at, it's just like when a woman gets raped, you know, she's not willingly wanting to copulate. Somebody's forcing that into her or forcing that on her.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's happening, that whole thing comes out in what kinds of weird dynamics. So when you're looking at how even in intercourse, I found out something about this, and I thought I knew a lot about it, but there's some things I guess you always learn about intercourse. When a man and woman are engaged actively, the longer he's inside of that woman, the more her hormones she's putting into him.
There's a real change.
Yeah. So now that's why the women know what the guy's thinking a lot of times, because that hormone that's connected to her is in his head. You know, and that's what goes on. So that gives the woman that kind of power over a man's thoughts. You know, that's a heavy power. The guy, what he leaves her is a protein that keeps her tethered to him, so she's not out there whoring around or chasing whatever. Now, something's gone wrong with that lately because of the programming. But if you got two people that are really connected and are again striving on the same for whatever, you don't usually have a problem. But like I said, because of such heavy programming we've had, you know, it's like we're exploring the new and improved version of whatever. It's all the same thing pretty much. Some slight variation. I always say the engine's all the same. Doesn't matter. You know, doesn't matter. It's how you turn them on. That's the difference. That's the only, and then the reaction you get from the engine engaging. But when you're looking at that, again, nobody tells us this. So that would put a big on that one. Like, yeah, that feels really good, but do I want her in my head?
Well, that's where a committed relationship certainly helps.
Well, that's what I mean, but that's because you're consciously choosing to have that commitment. But I mean, like I said before, most of us were taught sex education, and a lot of us decided, let's see what this does. Let's explore that horizon without being given the full details. We were given the physicality of it. Oh yeah, you get this, she gets that, she does this, you do that. Before you know it, you engage, you both feel some sort of euphoric activity, which acts like a drug. Then you want to chase it all the time, kind of thing. And then what happens, but nobody's telling you that now that person that you've engaged with is in your head. she's now in your head. Whether you know it or not, she's in your head. Okay. Now, and your protein now is in her. Because you ever sometimes see people getting into these major fights and these brouhahas, and they break off the relationship, and then they wind up going right back to each other.
This vicious cycle.
Vicious cycle. Because what happens there is, when the guy's engaging the woman, he's renewing that hormone or that engagement of her into him. So when that starts to diminish, it's almost like tobacco or anything else. It's like you're now going to want to tap you on the shoulder, roll over, I need a refill, kind of thing. Okay. And then again, it all depends again what's been going on that day, if that's even going to happen. But yeah, and the other way around. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the woman taps the guy on the shoulder because she needs to feel that tether, that connection. So it's different for both guys and gals. It's both about connection. It's just how they think about it or how they feel about it. That's the difference. But that is really heavy duty when you sit there and think about it. Who do I want? Do I really want that person in my head? Do you really want to be tethered to that male? Mm-hmm. Do you really want to be there? Because you had this one activity that now has, and then you get together and all you get is conflict and friction. Mm-hmm. So
I would say a lot of that, though, as I've experienced with my parents, there was a lot of domestic violence. I mean, it's very common in the States, especially in Los Angeles, which is where I grew up. And
lucky you.
Yeah, lucky me.
Lucky you.
Well, I had learned that in this valley, I was like in Porn Valley, basically. The porn capital of the world was right in Van Nuys. Anyway, they had, there must have been this frequency bombardment because everybody was getting hit or smacked, or lots of drunkenness, lots of fights happening, and then it transfers over to the kids. And what I recently learned last week is that when I was 9, we moved over to the Hawaiian Islands, and I grew up in Waianae on Oahu. In Waianae, in the back, there's this mountain range that it creates this little covering, this big separation between the North Shore where the big surf happens and then Honolulu, Waikiki. And so in the background, there are these giant antennas, just giant. And that's basically where this is considered the Hawaiian Crown Lands, where the Hawaiian Kingdom basically had set aside this property, and then the government, the state of Hawaii, took it over, and they got the Crown Lands as well as the government lands. So in this back area, there appears to be a harp device. Mm-hmm. And so this would explain all the violence, all the pedophilia, all the sexual violence that was happening in that community. And at that time, I think it's maybe 10,000 houses. It's a small community.
What year?
Well, when I moved there in 1980,
it was about 1975, 1976. The Haitians came over from Haiti, and they were all gay. You had lesbians, you had homosexuals, they're all gay. Everyone thought, how odd that people are coming, not just one or two. I mean, we're talking, blocks and blocks of people coming over, whole neighborhoods gay. I found out later that they were experimenting with atrazine on Haiti.
Oh my goodness.
And the atrazine creates a endocrine chemical imbalance to such a degree that it creates these anomalies. And then with the frequency you're talking about, again, bombarding that, it basically, you've already got the access inside of a person. And once you hit them with the frequencies, it just keeps on perpetuating this thing, right? And keeps on driving it that way. So, yeah, this is why I'm asking, because a lot of that shit started then. We didn't really have a homosexual thing going on at all until the 70s. All of a sudden it exploded. Mm-hmm. It just exploded. I mean, homosexuals were around. It wasn't like we never had anybody who was homosexual, but it was never as flagrant as that time or that decade of time. So something changed. Something had to have changed that. And when people tell me they're homosexual, I was born this way. No, you weren't born that way. You were made that way. They made you that way on purpose. They broke you that way. They broke your genetic code on purpose. So I always say, oh, you guys need to get together, form a lobbying group, and sue the government, and sue these geneticists, and sue these corporations that were putting this shit in your food supply, and get them to fix you. Get them to repair the genetic code. Get them to put you back together the way you're supposed to be. The whole concept of acceptance, it's not about acceptance. I will tolerate it because it's not your fault.
Right.
The choices you think you're making were already there, were already put there for you and programmed. You're just going by the choice because they damaged your genetic code. And they damaged all of us on that level too. Like I said, there was so much we didn't know. And all we saw on television, we were constantly getting bombarded was, okay, with guys, what were they seeing all the time? Women with breasts, whether you had the cleavage cut short or the woman's breast propped up or her backside, contours. So you had the, what do you call that? The leotards or the spandex.
Yeah.
So tight on the ass. Every time she walks, she squeaked kind of thing. You can see her flower pretty much. Oh, look at that, So that got you all. And that's what everybody was thinking what love was. Okay, women, it was the same thing. What did they get women with? They got women with the guy had to have money, he had a big car, had a big house. Okay, you were there to provide a service. That's how they depicted that whole thing at that time frame. The guy was the big whatever, and you were the gal that was supporting him, but then you were the gal that was also boinking him because that was your job, and his job was to do this, and your job was to do that. Right. And that's how they got that whole scenario going. So when I can look back historically now and see what has happened and how I got hooped, and how a lot of us got hooped, and how the overemphasis on sex, they put the base, the bottom end at the top, and they put the top end at the bottom. Is what they did.
Inversion.
So, yeah. So now your whole thing was money and sex, because that's all there was. That's all there was. So in the Matrix, that's all there really is. In all honesty, that's all there really is. Until you get out of that, that's all you really have. That's that's your goal or your quest, or what drives you. That's what drives the animal kingdom: survival and sex and reproduction, because you're going to keep the species going, and then you got to survive. And they got us in these songs about surviving. The Bee Gees had a song about surviving. That was called now. But anyway, think about that. So we're not supposed to survive.
No.
We're supposed to be surviving.
Exactly.
Not surviving. That's all horse hockey, pure and simple. But that's the bullshit. We're going to survive. Why do I want to survive? Survive means I'm barely existing. No, I want to thrive. I want more than just survival. So, and again, what are they propagating? Again, it's all a distortion,
It is.
So, till the system collapses, and until more and more people start to connect, wake up, connect, courage, not necessarily push in a bad way, but to, push, like I'm pushing you, for instance, I'll push what you're doing. Because I want you to be successful, not because I'm trying to compete with you. I want you to be successful. See, because I need a nap. I need somebody to take over. So,
we all need a nap.
Yeah, but I need one more than you.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
So
I'll give you that.
I'm pushing you but that's how it should be. I'm pushing you. You've been pushing me, and for that I am grateful. I thank you very much for what you've done. You took it upon yourself, and and I'm glad you did, and I hope more do it. More are doing it. So, but anything that we're all doing, and we're shining a perspective on it. I may not agree with everybody's perspective, but at least it's being looked at. We can start dissecting this stuff better. And start looking at this better, because what we're seeing today is just total horrendous bullshit. I mean, completely. Most of the things we're hearing in the health section today, you can almost do an inversion of it, do a 180 from it, and you'll be better off if you did than, for instance, following some of the nonsense, like the C60. That's another one that's a pet peeve of mine, because what's interesting about that, I challenged that C60 thing. Somebody contacted them, the NASA people. They actually attacked me twice, actually, 2 different shows. And I thought to myself, they're going to make me famous.
Yep,
They're, they're
they
gonna make
are.
me, they're
That's
making
like,
me,
oh, I didn't know I deserved this.
yeah,
Let me just
like,
keep doing what I'm doing.
yeah, all I did was expose the bullshit, and they, you know, and then they the first one I saw was with Westall and this guy. And the guy
Right.
really doesn't know anything. The guy's a salesman. That's all he is. And she's a deflector. And she looks like she's been demonically possessed or is demonically possessed. I think she's been using C60 and the AI is pumping frequencies in her head. Because she
Yeah.
always comes in at the right cue. So either she's getting a billboard or it's like, talk now, talk now. You know, that kind. Because the moment he gets under any kind of trouble, she steps in to create a distraction.
Ah,
So that's what I call a deflector. When you watch any of these things that are being propagated on the internet to sell you something that, especially if it's not good for you, they'll usually have 2 or 3 people there because they're all deflecting. So you got the guy doing his thing, he's throwing his spiel out there, buy this, make me rich. It's bullshit, but you got to buy it anyway. So then that person will come in there and says, now, what about blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. Again, trying to create this so-called network. And then the guy will go off on tangents. So you know right off the bat, he's not even following what she's saying.
right. Well, I think she has some kind of affiliate program, and that's where she's getting some income from pushing this stuff.
Well, I figured as much.
Yeah.
The interesting thing too about that. Okay, I went on there, and I even wrote a comment that they had the audacity to sell something just horrendous and just toxic to people. And again, you have to question, where the hell is the FDA here? The FDA will go after vitamin C, the FDA will go after other things, but again, something this bad, this is horrendous. This not affect just people, this affects the very environment and the genetic code of the environment as well. And there are more than enough studies to show that if you put this shit in water, if there's any kind of aquatic life, it wipes it out. It causes such huge genetic damage that they're done. And again, we're what, 58% water or something to that effect? 53% water is what we're composed of. Okay. And there are certain other components, other metals that when it gets with, it can react with. A lot of those metals are already in our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
So again, there's a lot of stuff that more and more coming out. Actually, we're compiling something now. California now is passing legislation on the new asbestos, carbon C60.
Oh my gosh.
So they're actually doing something about it. I thought this is interesting that now the legislation in California is going to regulate carbon C60 because of its lethality. When you breathe it in,
Mm-hmm.
it destroys the lungs. When you consume it, it destroys the stomach. And what it does is it turns off the immune response mechanism so you don't feel it destroying you on the inside out. So all these people are saying they're feeling good about it. It's because it's shutting down the response mechanisms to the DNA or into other parts of the body. It's not triggering any response mechanisms, so they feel that they're doing really good. I had 2 women call me up shortly after they started selling this stuff. They bought it, they jumped on it, they called me and said they had brain issues going on. So I got them on the sodium thiosulfate and vitamin C to start getting that stuff out of the head. But the moment it starts getting into your head, it's going to build a network, just like silica does in the body.
Mm-hmm.
So, but what made me really take notice was all of a sudden people were also challenging them on the site. 4 or 5 people who came right out and said, once I bought 1 bottle and I bought a couple more, it did nothing. $320 down the toilet. Another person says, what, you're saying it does this and does this, but what has it done on human studies? Because they got 1 or 2 studies, right? One was based on, because I looked at one that was based out of Japan and based out of Ukraine. But I got to question who paid for these studies, because I don't buy that the Ukrainians, unless again with the heavy American influence there, but I don't buy the fact that the Ukrainians would publish something. They didn't say it was completely inert. It would depend on the amount you take in and what it's exposed with. They come out and say that. But they're saying as a whole, it doesn't, on its own by itself, it shouldn't do much. But then at what level or how much of it doesn't do much, and it does bind with other carbon. So this is why when they say that they see it coming out, that's a lot of nonsense. What they're seeing coming out is the excess that's built up. So it's now seeping out. The rest is still staying in the body. That's what nano does. If anybody looks at any of the nano research, it doesn't lithium doesn't come out of the body. It gets stuck in the brain, starts frying the brain. Nano silver doesn't really come out of the body; it starts to embed itself in the liver, lungs, and spine and brain. And what does come out is not what they took in. They said the amount that goes in and the amount that comes out the amount that comes out is negligible. The bulk of it stays in. And I've got the studies on this too. So what now I'm doing is I'm compiling a page with everything on this, the different studies. Eventually what I'll do is I'll get your email. When I get it, I'll send you the copy. What I do is I break down the report, I'll highlight different things, I'll comment on the side, so that you can see the comments. Sometimes I'll use other sites and also put them on the sites to validate whatever is being said. And then at that point, it's there. If you're stupid enough to take this product, you deserve what's coming down the pipe.
It's a choice.
Pain. If you want to, if you're not willing to take the time, right? One guy did research it down in Australia, and he said as soon as he heard what I said, he got rid of it. He got rid of it. He said, no harm done, Says, why take the chance? There's not the studies that they've done. There's one or two. The studies that were done by the Chinese, by the French, by the English, by the Canadians, and other places they've been around for quite some time and far more extensive. So you have to sort of like, okay, 10 are saying no, you got one saying yes. Why should I believe you?
That's so true. No, that was a really great find. And it was just amazing, like a fluke that Space Decoy stepped up, and he's a resonance engineer.
Yeah.
And just made comments. It's like, wow. And I asked him, could we do an interview session or something? But he never got back to me. So
he might be afraid because the comments he made and the explanations he made on the terahertz frequencies and how it does get affected by frequencies and how it can be activated and to do whatever. It's something I've been saying all along about all the nano, because all nano work on the same principles or program. The detail he went into on that, I'd like to find the references that he had. I started looking up terahertz, so I found a couple things, but there are other even patents that you can look up and see that the frequencies can and do activate carbon C60, and how with the right modulation of the frequencies, you can make them contort, do whatever you want, or you can make them assemble and construct. Well, you're hearing all the time, you're hearing a pitch going on all day long, either a buzz, a hum, a high pitch, a hiss, whatever. These are frequencies that we're getting hit with that activates this nanotechnology in our body to start assembling. So the only way that I've figured out is to disengage this by wiping out the program. So now you got metal that isn't going to receive. It'll receive the frequency, but doesn't know what to do with it because it doesn't have the program embedded into it to function. So this stuff is just unbelievably dangerous. That it's now being sold as a health food. I mean, the health food industry has always sold shit. Molasses is nothing but shit. Byproduct waste of sugar production. And when you look at what's left of that, and then they sold it, damn well that they did that on purpose so that they didn't have to pay the price to dump it in the landfill.
Right.
Feed it to the people. What the hell? They'll shit it out and goes into the water table anyway. That's how they looked at it, right? And then we had aspartame, we had canola, we had cyclamets, we've had soy, we've had iproflavones, which is another big one. They're pumping women. Oh yeah, take the iproflavone. You'll have bone density and no breast cancer. Nothing was further from the truth. It diminished the bone density and increased breast cancer, I think by a factor of 2 or 3. So I found this in my year earlier. What the heck? Who's telling us this bullshit about how great this shit is? Soy has never been a good food. The only reason why the Japanese ate it because it was the only thing left they had on the island.
Yep.
They wiped them out. It wasn't the only thing they ate, but that was the only thing that was around primarily. So, and it was the Chinese, not the Japanese, that actually figured out that you have to ferment this for a year with calcium in order to neutralize the components in it. If you didn't do that, and what they're doing today is they're fermenting it in aluminum, not calcium.
Well, it's a,
2 weeks to 2 months. The Japanese keep those stuff for 2 months, and they send the rest of the 2 weeks to the United States and Canada.
right, a big consumer market for this.
Yeah.
I mean, especially with how the health industry or even the doctors have been pushing it as something that's healthy.
I think myself as a Japanese getting even. That's what I think. Drop 2 bombs on us, will ya? We'll fix it. We'll tell you to eat this shit, tell you it's good for you. You know, that's what I
From the
think.
Japanese people, I'm sorry. I'm so
No,
sorry. I didn't mean to do
I think you guys are getting even. I think turn around.
No.
Turn around is fair play. Think about it.
Okay.
You drop two. You then drop one bomb. No, we had to drop two to see what the second one's going to do. Really? After the first one went poof, you didn't see that? You didn't see what that did? You know, everything's laid to waste. But you know, but seriously, that was bad. I mean, but the Germans got it worse. People don't know about the history about the Germany. When the war was ending, Churchill, he was a bloodthirsty bastard, that guy. He sent 1,000 airplanes, American and British airplanes, every night, and he dropped Haiti bombs on Germany. Haiti bombs are high phosphorus igniting bombs. They burn everything they touch. So it didn't matter if you were in a church, in the street, they dropped this stuff on you and they burnt everything. They basically incinerated any record of whatever they did during the war. And they laid waste to the German Republic, and they basically cooked whatever was there. There was villages in Germany at the time that never saw the war. They were getting wiped out.
Right.
You know,
That's
with
true.
that. You know. And you know what? Nobody ever apologized to them. Nobody ever apologized to them for that. They didn't deserve that either. They were already beaten. You know, they had already all but surrendered. So this was like a little bit of what we had to see what was going to happen then too. You know, really. You know, usually when you drop a phosphorus ignition and it lights up, there's usually nothing left. You know, oh, a black spot. Used to be a community here. You know, so I mean, that's what I mean. So when you're looking at some of the stuff, you know, this was so hideous. It was demonic. You know, the war was all but over for Germany. You know, they had been completely exhausted, and Japan had maybe another year or two to go, and they were going to be done. That just sped it up. I mean, one bomb I think would have been more than enough. Even that was too much. I think if they had even just ignited it in the air without even having it hit the ground, that probably could have been more than enough to show them that, you know what, you're next. We'll call it a day. We'll save some grief. You know, we'll save some grief, you know. But they, again, they played that game. And sometimes I think they're just getting even, you know. It's good for you. Eat, go, lots.
Well, when you
you're
think
stupid enough to believe that, we got more for you. We'll even give you not only tofu, we'll give you some tempeh and miso and a whole bunch of other shit for you. Eat.
It is unfortunate that those countries that happen to have a centralized bank are the ones that are being controlled, and they're just puppets. I mean, the whole planet, all the countries being divided the way they've been, and then having to be forced into bankruptcy. That's really what this is all about.
Well, that's divide and conquer, you know. And then when you're broke, we'll give you a solution. We'll give you money, but you got to hook up with the bank, this bank, you know. Now, then what happens is that you didn't pay the debt the first year, the interest has gone up a little bit higher and a little bit higher. I mean, who seriously think about this? Who allows a bank to print money for your country that you now have to borrow to get when you can print your own money at interest free? That makes no sense on any level.
Well, on a political point, that's where everybody's connected. I mean, that's where the UN comes and serves its purpose, and the International Monetary Fund.
Well, that's true, but that's how you again put the tether on the countries.
Okay? Right.
I mean, when Hitler came into power, was the first thing you do? He got rid of the banks. What happened? 3 years they had the strongest economy in the world. Russia was starving. America was starving. Britain was starving. You know, they had. You see pictures of them prior to 1939. They're driving the big cars. They got money in their wallets. But they're looking pretty healthy, plump. You know, they're dressed to the nines. They got metropolitan areas that, you know, were advanced. You know, 1939 rolls by. What happens? The war breaks out. Really? War. You know, and then who provided the mechanism for war. The globalists in America, Ford, GM, Chrysler, Standard Oil, General Tire, you know.
You know, they were all put in place early on. When you think about the mid 1800s, especially even with the whalers, because that's how they ended up over in the Hawaiian Islands.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about these missionaries and the whalers, it's that they didn't really intermarry. They only married into the monarchy, and then they killed the monarchy off, the Hawaiian monarchy, and then you've got these still like fifth generation who descend from the missionaries who came in the 1820s, and they have not intermarried with the Hawaiians. Yeah, they just married themselves, or they intermarried.
And that's why they're a little wacky, because the genes are too close.
Yep.
They're like, oh, this is what we got running the throne, you know. And and if you look at the whole system, from the United Kingdom across Europe to the U.S., Canada, who's in power? Who's running for presidents? These are descendants of these people from the past, and they're all a little effed up. I mean, we sit there, they're a little bit on that, you know. So this is why nobody can take them too seriously, because you know you've got a lunatic running the asylum. And you know, people are looking about Trump. Well, Trump, I think he's doing whatever he's doing, but I still think that's what he's doing is a distraction. You know, he's making a big stink with Canada right now. Canada, you know, we're having a falling out of love or whatever. You know, I saw a picture where Trump has got his hands looking like that.
Oh, right. Yeah, he often does that. I've seen him do that.
That looked like a vaginal opening. And then Trudeau had his hands like this, which was an anal penetration. So I think he was calling him a female organ, and the other one's calling him an asshole.
Okay. I haven't seen that.
I looked at it, I think that's what's going on. I think he's calling him anyway, and he's calling him, you know, an arsehole. So anyhow, that's what it looked like. You know, that's how I was reading it. Well, because they're all just symbols, right? So he's got the vaginal thing there. He's calling him a vagina. I can use that word. He's calling him a vagina, you know, and the other one's calling him an asshole. So I'm thinking, okay, what's going on between the two now? You know, and I'm not seeing any major improvements in the United States.
Well, you know, the big one came out last year on winter solstice, when the assets of any individuals who are participating in human trafficking were going to be frozen. That's big. That's never happened before.
That and the pedo thing but I'm kind of wondering about that too. I'm not saying it's bad. Okay, so I think that needs to stop, and I think that needs to be terminated.
Oh, definitely.
What's going on? See, I always look at, this is what they're showing me. I'm looking here now. What am I missing? You know, it's always a bait and switch. Yeah, we're going after these bad guys. These are bad guys because we've made any kind of sex bad. Guy has sex with a woman, that guy's bad because he has sex with a woman. You know, he had sex with a whatever, he's bad or she's bad because he had sex. So now we got the sex thing going on. And so I'm wondering now if some legislation is going to come down up the way in regulating sexual activity, you know, something, you know what I mean? There's always a right. You always lose some kind of rights and freedom in any of this situation. It's always been that whatever they've shown us, no matter how, like I said, I'm not diminishing this. This is huge and it's big, but I'm always looking at what rights are they going to take away from you now? They got you focused 100% here, but what's going on behind you that you're not looking at? You know, that's the thing I wonder about. That's
what
the thing I wonder.
Let's see, I've sort of been on this birth certificate realizations. It's now 3 years, and I just realized the whole point is to disassociate from citizenship. And my being born in California, even though I was born on an original land patent, that land patent happened to be owned by what is it, the missionaries,
Okay.
because it was along this trail where all the missionaries had settled California up the coast. And so I'm a non-citizen national of the U.S. I'm not a U.S. citizen because U.S. citizens really only apply to military bases, post offices, or Washington, D.C.
Government agencies or government affiliations, yeah.
Yeah. Everything else would be...
Everything else is property. Everything else is, you're basically covering the debt. You're basically a piece of paper saying that you're covering the debt of America, or you're covering the debt of Canada, or you're covering the debt of like I said, any country that has a centralized banking system. I think it's just about all of them now, I think, anymore. Before you could take your money and hide it in a Swiss bank account or Isle of Wight or some other place. Now it's very difficult to be able to do that. You should pull it out of the system completely, outside the bank. Even that, think about it. We got the Queen on our dollar, okay, and we got to pay a tribute to the monarchy because of that. Because of that, America has been paying a tribute to the monarchy since the 1890s. They signed a treaty that all the taxes they would collect would go to the crown.
Right.
$1 trillion a year from the United States goes to the crown. About $500 million goes from Canada. Australia pays their fair share. So does New Zealand. Why are we sending money to the crown? If that money wasn't there, they wouldn't be able to. The monarchy would have fallen a long time ago.
Yeah.
And some of that's going to the papacy as well.
Oh, definitely. The papacy is the one that had bestowed all the birth certificates and the souls to the Queen. Yeah. And so that's where, you know what, here, if one is a Catholic, they have to pay taxes to the state. So the state will send a bill to any Catholic, and it's a percentage. It's a percentage of the income that goes then to the Pope.
Yeah, see, I'm not Catholic, so I don't care. I'm not Catholic, Yeah. I believe in the living God, period. Okay. For me, it's through Jesus. Has nothing to do with Catholicism, has nothing to do with it. I'm non-denominational, to be straight on that. I have no denomination. Don't want any, period. Okay, all I see with all them is just, again, all they are is just traps and snares, and it's the same thing. They're and then they got everybody in this concept of, be subservient or be submissive to the authority. Well, to a point, I guess, but who's the authority, Or render the things that are Caesar's to Caesar's and the God's things that are God's. Well, okay, if God made everything, Caesar's got nothing. Caesar, what does Caesar make?
Caesar was one of the puppets, you could say.
What did he make? Nothing. God created the planet, God created the universe, God created, so if anything, and we all owe a tribute to God for creating the planet, giving us a place to live, not Caesar. That's how I see it. Now, again, you're in the system, so while you're in the system, you have to be, you have to concede to it on some level. But on all reality, if we really sit there and break that down, Caesar has done nothing in any way, shape, or form to this planet other than violate it in some fashion. So when you actually sit there and think about it, since God made the planet, and he doesn't even get credit for that, it's always Mother Nature this or who the hell is Mother Nature? Nothing. You don't hear about any creation there unless some book, some fairy tale wrote something. But when you sit there and think about this, the Creator created the sun, hung the sun in the center of the universe, hung the planets around it, created us, created everything on this planet, and he doesn't get nothing?
Oh, wait a minute. I just realized, suppose, so the church creates this institution so that the people can come and pray to God.
Well, to a God.
To a God.
To not God necessarily, to a God.
To the God, they could say.
Yeah.
But suppose, because this is an inversion, if we turned that 180 degrees, how is it possible then that God is in each one of us?
Well, that's where the concept of the Spirit, one must be born of water and the Spirit. God is in us, but the program that's running isn't.
So that's where the hijacking happens.
That's where the hijacking happens. See, we're the concept, unless one is born anew. cannot see the kingdom of God, because we're in this matrix. So what we have running is the matrix program, not the Spirit of God's program. Like I said, we're still running under what they call the forbidden. I call the forbidden fruit program, because that's when the download started from that tree. Now, if Adam had a half a brain, he'd have had a hacksaw or chainsaw and a torch and burnt the bloody thing right down. Because women don't listen anyway. Tell them not to do something, and they do it.
Women under a certain age will do, but women over, when they're mature.
That's different. Yeah, that is true. That is true.
It's true.
Yeah, because I understand that, because I dated all kinds of women from all spectrums, not really young, but from 30s up. And there is a difference between a 30-year-old and a 40-year-old, and I've never gotten much past that. But even in the range of the 30s, you see a difference. It all depends on what the woman has gone through in life to wake her up. That's what I find is a big deal. As long as she's got this hedonistic idea that she's some sort of goddess, she's impossible to live with, because she thinks that she is the center of it all. And if it's all based on an opening between your legs, seriously, you've got nothing. If it's not based on the space between your ears, then you've got something there. But if that's all you've got, and that's all you got to offer is just that, you really don't have a whole lot in this life to give to anything. Anybody can kick out a baby. That doesn't take much. All it takes is an act, an overnight act, and boom, and you're not doing anything there either. That's all being done because it's a genetic program that's operating in your system. So you're not really contributing to that either. That's something that's being done because that's how it was designed. So if that's all you've got, and that's all you've got to offer, seriously, you got nothing. You've got nothing. And so what about love? What about love? Yes, love plays a role. But if that's, again, all you've got to offer is some sort of emotional or biochemical reaction that's going on between the two people, that's it. You got nothing. You've got to understand this life is out to kill you, and enslave you and entrap you. And unless you're cooperating with somebody to be able to get through it, you really got nothing. That's all you can offer. You've got nothing. And I'm not saying that to diminish that. That is an important part of aspect of a relationship either, because it allows a man and woman to connect on a whole different level in that regard too. But like we're exchanging hormones and proteins, and we're also exchanging other chemistry, and we're also exchanging energies in that regard. But when you're looking at that aspect and you understand that, that's when it has the meaning, and when it has something to really point out. But like I said, if that's all you've got as a young woman or a young guy, if a young guy always thinks he's got it because he can get an erection and nail 100 women, any fool can do this. Dogs do that, jackasses, the cows do that, or bulls do that, Is that all you got? Really? You got nothing.
Yeah, that's true. But that's a big part of the program. I mean, when we think about what's on television or what's the big blockbuster and all the movie stars and how they've been able to convey this feeling of satisfaction, it's really hollow. There's really no intention. And I think that's
there is an intention. No, there is an intention. But the intention is a program, the right program.
It's an external.
Yeah, and all it's about is a situation that's happening, and you're connecting on somebody because you guys are going through something together, and then next thing you know, you're exchanging DNA, and that makes it all hunky-dory, and then you move on, and then the movie ends, you think they live happily ever after. Really, that's all it was just an activity of a DNA exchange. She got pregnant, he left. That's the reality. That's the reality. But that's the Walt Disney theme. And they what is it? They explode that enough to sensationalize that into your thinking that you think this is the way it's supposed to be. When we're looking at some of the like I said, when you're talking about going in reverse,
right.
Whether you go forward or backward, it's still the same with us. We're created in God's image, period. That's the template. Okay, that's a passage where when we read John 1, it's referring to Jesus and Jesus being God. Everything was made through him. So somehow God's DNA or God's spirit or God's energy, however you want to put it, is in us. That's how we were made. Another verse in the Bible in Psalms actually talks about before we were even formed, he knew us. Okay, that's heavy. Okay, that's saying that he already had a template. The design was already there. The plan was already there about us before we were even formed. That's genetics on a whole different ball game right there. You know,
Yeah.
what you're putting in, the programmings you're putting in, the defense mechanisms you're putting in, the designs you're putting in, the infrastructure, where you're going to, whether they eat this, that, or whatnot, you know, whether they eat this, or they live here, they live where it's hot, where it's cold, you know, whether they're rich or whether they're poor, that's all being put into that matrix that's being, again, presented. So when we're looking at some of this stuff, it's like I said, when you read these things, it's not just a bunch of words, you know, holy these and holy thous. It's like, oh, let's take a look at this. You know, this sounds like AI. This sounds like genetics. This sounds like, you know, programming. This sounds like cymatics. This sounds like li-fi. This sounds like, you know, this sounds all. You're looking at it and it's like, oh my gosh, you know, what are we really reading here? If I listen to the guy in the pulpit, you'll never see this in a million years. You couldn't see it in a million years because he's putting you to sleep anyway. And the majority of them are Masonic or from the Protocols of Zion or Jesuits or God knows what else. So I tell people, you're going to read the book, you read it. You know, I would tell them, start with John. You may as well, because he's telling you right there where to get started anyhow. Read it, but you read it. Don't let somebody, you know, if you don't understand, don't worry about it. Have a talk with them. Have a talk with a one-on-one. Have them show you what it means. Have them show you what it means. You know, it's his words, you know. And the interesting thing about it, Bob, you want the interesting thing about a program? When we're using a program of any kind, when you start reading the Bible, you don't know shit. You don't know nothing. Nobody does. And you read it from that perspective. You don't know. You're learning. As you evolve and develop in your understanding of how this word is written and the way it's written, as you grow, the words also evolve. This program starts to change because you're changing. So it starts to meet you where you are. So if you're down here, it meets you here. As you start growing, it also meets you where you are. And then you start seeing the more deeper understanding of some of these words. And you start getting, whoa, what's going on? Man, this is, you know, and you start looking at Genesis from a whole different angle. When you read the book, God created the earth in 7 days. You know, he said, let there be light, let there be this. And you just sort of read it nonchalantly. And you think, okay, you know, God created. Then you go back and read it again. Whoa, wait a minute here. What is it? This is frequency. Frequency. You know, the voice of God walks through the garden. There's another verse there. The voice of God walked through the garden. It doesn't say God did. The voice of God. That's a frequency moving through this garden. Like again, you don't see that initially because again, you're not at that point together to see it. But as you move on, he's like, whoa, what is talking about here? You know, and you start seeing that they had some understanding of things. So we're not that bright, evolved people everyone thinks we are. You know, we think we're advanced. Shit, we're not advanced. We're retarded by comparison. You know, we're retarded, and we're so far down the tank sometimes. Like, wonder how the frig are we even standing? You know, sometimes.
Yeah. It's so true. I cannot believe just how advanced things are here in Switzerland compared to, as I lived most of my adult life in San Francisco.
Oh.
And the kind of engineering, how the scale and the magnitude of what's found in caves, just the engineering, it's phenomenal. It's like this could only be created by a people who was so far advanced.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, this is just a simple thing like keys.
Yeah.
You take one key and it opens the front of the building door, and then it also, same key opens my apartment door. It doesn't open any of the neighbors. Yeah. It's just amazing.
It's a program, yeah. Well, a lot of things that were done in the past were all done with programming. You know, why is it that the Egyptians could drill a hole in the brain so small that they can't do it today? Really? So what were they using? Were they using laser technology then? You know, were they using some other type? You know, they didn't maybe drill a hole. Maybe they ran a beam there to be able to penetrate, to be able to do what they need to do.
Right.
You know, so a lot of times, you know, when you see something like the pyramids, everyone's wondering how they built it. Well, if you were to build it like a step and lay mud on it, it would create that perfect seamless situation. You know, it wouldn't take much. I mean, elevating the stones higher and higher, that's where it could be a problem because of the weight. But then again, maybe the people were bigger. You know, there is some aspect that they might have been a lot bigger. I mean, there was one YouTube where they were showing you this, what appeared to be a mountain in Australia, but was actually left over a tree. You know.
Oh, well.
That red mountain in Australia is actually what's left of a tree.
Is this the Ayers Mountain? It's like a big mound.
Yeah. When you look at it up close,
Uh-huh.
it's not a rock face. It's a petrified wood.
Petrified. Okay.
They're saying that our trees used to go up 60 miles. Okay. In Noah's day, it never rained until the flood. When he said the flood was coming, they had no idea what he was talking about. Because with the tree foliage that high up, the condensation of the planet would have kept everything at an even keel temperature. And they would have gotten the water from the condensation. They never saw rain.
Okay.
Never saw rain because it was all. So when he said the flood was coming and he's building a boat in the middle of nowhere, you know, Noah, you're smoking a little bit of that wacky tobacco. You want to share some of that with us? That kind of thing, you know. But it never rained. If you read the biblical reference, again, it didn't rain until the flood.
Wow.
So that's an interesting. So that matches what they found out about all these what looks like rock faces all over. There's another one down in South America or Central America somewhere. It looks like almost like a volcanic thing, but that was stuff of that is a petrified wood, and that was a tree.
Wow.
So again, it makes you wonder. If the trees were going up 60 miles up, 60 miles. So how much oxygen was on the planet then? You know. Now all the trees that we're seeing basically are basically bushes by comparison.
Right. They would be.
So like I said, when you look at a lot of things, some things have been, you know, forgotten, and this bullshit has been thrown at us. It's like, wait a minute here, whoa, you know, some things are just not adding up here.
Yeah.
Until you see this part of the equation and say, oh, look, we got this, and we got, oh yeah, they fit. You know, there's a fit here. So, even with our health, how much bullshit have we been told about our health? How many times have we been misdiagnosed with health? You go in, oh, you got a cholesterol problem. Your cholesterol is at 220. You need to be down to 110. Oh, you don't. 220 is where you're supposed to be, 220 to 240. But if they get you down to 110, you're sick all the time. Your brain ain't functioning. Your body ain't functioning. There's no communication going on. You know, it's you can't produce the hormones correctly that you need to produce. Okay, another lie. Diabetes. Oh, you got diabetes. Well, you can't fix that. Well, shit, you go get some juniper berry, make a tea with that. Watch how much sugar you'll piss out of your body. And then add some bitter melon or chlorella to your mixture. Watch you regenerate your pancreas. You know, it's the processed sugars and the bread and the grains that's killing your pancreas. Get off of that and eat your fats like you're supposed to. Saturated fats, and not these oxidizer fats.
Yeah.
And then you watch what happens. And then you know what? When you start eating those, you don't feel like eating. You'll have a meal. It's a small little something with all this shit. You'll go all day long.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I've been following your work for over a year now, and I'm just surprised at how little I need to eat.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I got to eat dinner because it's dinner time because my partner wants to eat. So it's like, okay, so I'll have something, and it's just, I guess the level of what I need to do, and it's like I don't even know what time it is, but it's surprising in terms of I don't need to sleep as much, and I don't need to have so much food, much less water. It's like all this hydration that seems to be necessary. Here, when you go out for a drink, then you'll go for dinner, then you go for after drinks.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that's a lot of fluid I'm taking in. And it's just about pushing consumerism.
Well, the reason why you need so much sleep because your body has to process all that shit in you. Literally. Literally. Okay? So if you don't have that much shit in you, you can go longer.
Yeah, totally.
You go a lot longer. You know, when you got that much poison, the body has to process that, right? So the only time it's really can do that is when you're sleeping.
Yeah.
So if you gotta sleep, 10, 12 hours, well, it's because you got a lot of shit in you. Your body's
Mhm.
tired.
Yeah.
So it's tired, so it needs a rest, plus it's got to still process the stuff. So when you're eating less, and again, if and it's concentrated, okay, I've changed. I finally found a protein powder here. It
Oh.
doesn't have any shit in it, literally. So it's got a concentrate and the isolate. So it's a blend. This is what you should be getting. And just vanilla. It's just got it's got sunflower lecithin and it's got stevia. That's it. That's all it's got in it.
Oh.
Done. So I get up in the morning. I get 125 mils of yogurt.
Okay.
I put a scoop of the protein in there. I put a scoop of my colostrum in there. I'll put some minerals. I'll put my nootropic in there. I might put in my copper and zinc. I'll blend it up for about 2 minutes. Drink that 125 mil. Man, I'm good for 6, 7, 8 hours. Sometimes I eat because I think if I eat now, I won't have to eat as much later or whatever. But I barely eat a meal, one meal maybe, and maybe a meal and a half. That's it. And my meals, like I said, are small pieces of meat, or
Mm-hmm.
something like eating meat, and I mean my meat, I mean poultry or any kind of meat. And then sometimes I'll go get mashed potato, make a little mashed potato, put a lot of butter and garlic in that. Eat that, I'm good. Don't need nothing else. I'm fine. That's it. You don't need it. And the only thing that I tell people they need to really watch is the minerals. Make sure you
Mm-hmm.
get them in you.
Oh, yes.
If you can get a B complex going, you find a clean B complex user. If not, start buying one at a time, putting them together. But that's really basically it. You don't really need so much of these supplements that they're pumping out there.
Oh, yeah.
It's like depending on how you live, what you're exposed to, what you're dealing with in life, it should be the determining factor of what you're going to need to take in order to get you through it. If you're in a high stress situation, you need vitamin B5, retinol palmitate, or vitamin A. You need to support your adrenals. If you're in a situation where you're in a heavily air polluted area, then you want something like NAC or alpha lipoic acid or onion or garlic powders or whatnot, sulfur. You need vitamin C. You might need some B1. You may need and vitamin A because you need to again pull this shit out and you need to regenerate the lung capacity. So so again, some simple stuff like that. If you're going to be, say, you're an athlete. And we
Mm-hmm.
all know you need more protein, but you also need more minerals and you also need more saturated fat. If you want to get the recovery going that you're supposed to be going and getting, then you need that fat. When I was younger, I didn't train with fat because we were talking the taboo about fat. Oh, fat's terrible, you'll
Oh.
die, and all that. I was a fairly strong guy when I was younger, and I was built pretty good. But if I had the saturated fat, I'd have looked like I was on steroids. It would have made that
Oh.
much difference. It would have made that much of a difference. I was muscular. I wasn't really, really big, but I wasn't really small either, sort of in between, which for me, that was fine. I wasn't planning on lifting 500 pounds with one hand. I didn't feel the need to do that. I squatted, the most I squatted was 165, and I squatted 307. That's all I needed. I wanted to hit 300. I did that. It was done. I said, next, anything over that, the machine can lift it.
Right.
I like my testicles right where they were. I didn't want them hanging down to my knees, kind of thing. I didn't want nothing to rip, and I didn't need to have any knee damage. I didn't need to have any elbow damage. What for? Now if I train guys, especially older guys, I tell them I have a half-hour training, 15 minutes to do you exercise one muscle group, and the other 15 minutes you work if you work an agonist movement, you do an antagonist movement. In other words, you work in a bicep, you work a tricep. So for
Okay.
15 minutes, you work with those dumbbells, unilateral, and you write down how many sets you did, how many reps you did per set, and then you add the total weight. So let's say you're training with dumbbells. Okay, so you got 20-pound dumbbells. So you take the first set and let's say you do 50 of each. So you write down 50, 20 pound dumbbells by 50. That's 1,000 pounds. That's what you've moved.
Wow.
You've
Okay.
moved 1,000 pounds. Okay. So let's say the next set, you've done 30, 20 by 30. That's 600 pounds. So let's say the next set you did, 20 by 20, 400 pounds. So let's say you do 10 sets, 15 sets, and you do 20. So at the end, you add all that up and you see how much weight you actually moved. You've now worked the muscle without damaging the joint.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, real simple. So now you did the biceps. Now we do the triceps because we worked the one group, we worked the back group, right? Front and back, front and back. Always. So I worked the quads, I worked the hamstrings, right? If I worked the midriff, I worked the lower back. If I worked the pecs, I worked the upper back. You know, and you only do 15 minutes each. That's it. Okay.
Wow.
Because especially when you're older guys, after a half hour, the testosterone levels drop. 45 minutes, the testosterone levels drop. So I tell them go only a half hour and then do your warm down or warm up or whatever you're doing at the end. So you cool off and go out. You're done. You worked the muscle. I haven't damaged your elbows. I haven't damaged your shoulders. I haven't damaged your wrists. I haven't damaged your knees. I haven't damaged your hips. I haven't damaged your back. I haven't damaged your ankles. You've worked the muscle.
Yeah.
You know, and you'd be surprised how strong you can get on that. You know, if someone says, well, I can lift 1,000 pounds. So can I. Watch this. 20 times 50. I just moved 1,000 pounds, you know. And I'm nowhere as big as you are. And look at me, I just moved 1,000 pounds. Yeah, but I did it one time. Yeah, you're crazy. You can hurt yourself. You know, I'm working it.
No, that's actually something I've never heard, because I used to be a Pilates trainer, and we just did like 3 sets of 3. Yeah. Work with your own weight, and that's really all you need. You don't need to be.
But that's a little different because if you're not used to using your own weight, I could not do push-ups worth a flying fart before. Once I started doing benching and dumbbells, I could rip push-ups off like crazy. I had weak triceps, is why. So once I strengthened the triceps through my training, I could do push-ups all day long. I can do box push-ups. I could do chair push-ups. I can have my feet up. I could have my feet down, whether I was this way or this way, I could do push-ups, right? I could do them close. I could do them far away, whatever, you know. So, but eventually you work up to that strength level. But when you're doing that kind of volume, it's a lightweight. You don't have to have a heavy weight either. You know, if it's too light, then go up a little bit, you know. And you might be surprised just by incrementally going up and doing that kind of volume, how you can build yourself a pretty strong body in a very toned one. I have a couple guys trying it, and they say they can't believe the results they're getting in a short period of time. It's because now you're working the muscle. I don't need you to work your back. I don't need you to work your joints. I don't need you to work how you want to work the muscle. Yeah. So, and again, this is something you learn as you get older. Because when you're younger, you're I'm going to push that. I'm going to lift that. Yeah, I'll grab that. You know. Next thing you know, you got a shoulder tear. You got an elbow tear. You got, because you're stupid. You know, you got to prove you're the guy. You're the man. I can lift this. You know, the man who's measured by how many dumbbells you can lift. You know.
Oh, gosh, that's a program.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a program.
Yeah. Well, you got to be 6 feet long, and you got to make a woman. You got to put that all inside of a woman, and you got to make her scream, and you got to be able to have all the. And I tell all the guys, I had a guy come in here the other day. He says, women don't care about your willy, and they don't care about your muscles. What they care about is your wallet, and can you take care of yourself? That's what they care about. If you can do that, they're happy. You want to do all the other things, that's a fringe benefit. That's for your benefit. They don't care. You know, they don't care about all that stuff. You know, they care about, can you carry your weight? Can you be financially responsible? Can you be there? You know, that's what they get. They don't give a shit about all that stuff. And again, you don't learn that till way later on anyway. You know, and then when you start talking to some of the women, we don't care about this. This is for your benefit. You know, do this. This keeps you interested. That's what it is. You know. Someone can do it out completely. You know, they're happy just to be with somebody. That's it. They don't need all that. So, it's just the way it goes. So when you're looking at being all, I got 24-inch pythons, and what are you going to do with that?
Can you go push the car? The neighbor needs help.
Yeah. What are you going to do with that exactly? You're going to be a professional wrestler. You're going to be a football player or an American football player. Or are you going to are you going to be some kind of athlete? We're going to make, $200,000 a year or $300,000 a year, or a couple $1 million a year. If you're going to do that, then it's worth doing, but.
Well, the thing with athletes, we have the World Cup happening. Yeah. I guess it's in Russia. And what is it? FIFA? FIFA. They're based over in Zurich. Switzerland. And the Olympics, they're based over in Geneva. Yeah. I mean, it's Sports is a big distraction.
Oh, huge.
Yeah.
Beyond belief.
Yeah.
Beyond belief. Beyond belief, yeah. Well, look, when you're young, and you're seeing all the males see the sports, this is what they tie it to. They give you that male outlet
Mm-hmm.
because they suppress it everywhere else. You know, and some, like over here, even if you look at a woman the wrong way, they get you for some kind of sexual charge. It's ridiculous. I mean, they got to prove it, obviously, but
Mm-hmm.
that's just how stupid it's become, to the idea of separating somebody. Well, if they didn't promote the whole sexual thing in the first place, nobody would have to worry about any of this crap.
Right.
Women would have to worry about it. And the other thing too, if a woman's wearing something that's breasts are barely covered and the crack of her backside is showing because her cheeks are hanging outside of her thong, and then you wonder why people are looking at you. Well, they're trying to figure out, is this real? Are you an alien? Are you this stupid to promote this much of your ass out in the wide open? Don't you think you might be asking for a problem? Somebody who doesn't have any control.
Yeah.
So, like I said, that whole dynamic has changed too. If women are walking around and you've got half your body hanging out, somebody's going to look at you. They're going to try to figure out if you're mentally stable.
Yeah, that's so true. It's really messed up. I don't go out so much. I only go out when I have to, when I got to go for a walk or something. But it's curious, especially in Zurich. It's just there was this frequency that was being put out in the train stations, and the train stations are down under the ground. And
wow, you got nowhere to go then. You're getting just ricocheting all over the place then. Holy jumping, okay.
Yeah, it was. I always felt like I had eyeballs on me.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, that's the Blue Beam Project.
Yes,
that's what it's all about.
This I can see.
Yeah.
But I'll have to say, was it last year? It stopped. It stopped. This feeling of being watched stopped, and I didn't feel self-conscious or anxious. And it's the kind of it's like clockwork. And what it is the train will come, and if you happen to make that train, you'll be able to catch your connection on the other end. But people are just running. And I think a lot of that running for the next train, even though the next train is going to be coming in 7 minutes, it's not a problem. People are running because of this frequency that's causing the anxiety.
Yeah.
It's really curious how things work.
When you're in that environment, it's like a ricochet.
Mm-hmm.
And you're getting more than one hit. And the reason why you may not be feeling the sense of anxiety anymore, the AI has a predictability program. So once it has figured out your patterns and figured out this is what you do all the time, it may not have as heavy a hand monitoring you. If you start changing your routes and different activities, all of a sudden you may feel it again.
Right.
I one day went out to get milk at a farm, and so I was driving to the farm, and I took a different route.
Okay.
And so I'm driving, and I get almost halfway back, and I feel this thing go bing right in my head. And I thought, oh, it found me. It was looking for me, because I did the same thing every that one day I would go. And so it found me, and then when it did, it was like major boom kind of thing. So I realized that it will look for you, and then when you start changing your patterns, you start seeing more activities.
Okay.
You might start seeing it, yeah.
Yeah. What I have done is I've put copper in my hat, so I've got my cap on. And I have a feeling that what's over at the AMT, which is kind of the equivalent to a county recorder's office in the States, it's where they have all the records, and I go and get my notary there. But there are these like really unusually tall white guys. So I call them the tall whites. And I have my hat on, and it's like let's see. This guy, he'll be standing like this on the counter, and I'm like this over here because he's so tall, you know. It's, I mean, I'm not that small, but he's pretty huge. He has to sort of duck under to get under the beam. Anyway, he's looking at me, and I feel like I've been found. And because I've got my copper, I'm sort of protected in some way.
Yeah.
But I just felt like he ID'd me because
That's quite possible.
It's
quite possible. I mean, think about it. Everyone's got loaded with artificial genetic engineered nano.
mm-hmm.
They've been putting the carbon. Everyone's got some kind of silica in them. So yeah, that's not an inconceivable. If you get around people, sometimes all of a sudden they start saying stuff that's pertinent to you,
Uh-huh.
you know, out of the blue. Then you know that's AI.
Okay, right.
You know, AI.
This is exactly like in the Matrix, where the agents, you don't know where they are. They can be anywhere.
Yeah.
This is exactly like that feeling.
Yeah. This is what this is. This is a hologram. This isn't real. None of this shit's real. So when you're looking at, it's just exactly that. When you get around people, all of a sudden you're not saying a word. You haven't said anything to anybody, and they're starting to talk about conversations that you've been talking about or looking into or whatever, or stuff you might even be researching.
Mm-hmm.
That's AI.
That's the AI.
That's your AI.
This
AI.
This connection that you made with your recent, I think it was the blue beam. The blue light activates the nano. The delivery system is through the C60 and other nefarious supplements.
Yeah.
And the triangulation actually happens when one happens to be taking in this substance, that they can build that antenna. What was it? It's an
assembly.
Yeah.
Assembly. Yeah. Well, it goes on. The moment you get in the system, okay. Initially, what they did with us is they loaded us with raw building material. Silica was the main one back in the 60s. But then when they started introducing the nano, which they never tested, by the way, they just put it out there. It was in the environments everywhere. We were reading it, whatever. It said what they call the terminology is a lattice, which is like a chemical structure. Okay, it's a chemical that builds a structure, a square or whatever, and then an origami builds on that, which they got from the Japanese, is the concept of origami, and then the assembly will go from that out. Okay, so what happens is, as this follows this protocol to assemble, what then happens is you get charged with frequencies, and the frequencies dictate what it's going to do, how it's going to assemble, where it's going, and where it wants to make the fullerene connection, and how the bots will actually go through the fullerene tubes to get to a certain destination, and then activate to extend more fullerenes to assemble more networks in the system. It's constantly perpetuating this all the time. So when you're looking at the different aspects of blue beam, EMFs, ELFs, towers, AM and FM. These are all frequencies that they've been using for a period. This is why people are hearing things in their ear. They feel like they got tinnitus. That's not going into the ear. That is going right directly into the brain, and that's the brain's response to it. You're not going to cure that with any whatever. So all these cures about tinnitus is just a lot of bullshit. You're getting hit with frequencies, and if you're the only one hearing, that means they're targeting you at that point. So no, I don't hear nothing. Well, then start thinking, well, if they're not hearing anything, then it must be coming directly to me. So, and that's how it is for the most part. So, yeah, there's a lot to this, and like I said, I mean, even on the site, we've got all those links on nano, carbon C60 now, and like I said, the more I look at this, the more I'm like shaking my head, like, who in the right mind would eat this shit? Literally, it's just unbelievable how this will create a big, huge interface between you and artificial intelligence, and how it completely integrates you into the core of this program and take you over. It's a three-way hit. First, I disarm you by loading you with glyphosate and everything that will pull everything out of your body. Secondly, I load your body up with the nanobiology or nanotech biology, which could be crystalline material, fullerene material, quantum dots, bots, a whole variety of different things. They begin their assembling process in the system, and then the activation comes in through towers, through cell phones, through iPads, through computers, televisions, portable phones, whatever, whatever can emit a frequency. And then that will determine what they're going to do to you.
Right. Right. That's, it also seems to be tied to genetics in the sense that certain ethnicities seem to be heavily targeted, like the Irish.
I think at this stage, it's everybody. I've been getting contact from people in India, people in Asia. I've been getting people from Africa. So I don't know if it's any more an ethnicity thing. Maybe at one point in time, people said, well, argue it could have been Caucasians or getting targeted. I don't think so. Everybody that I'm talking to, a lot more women.
Yeah, that's that.
A lot of women.
Yeah.
But a lot of guys probably don't realize this. A lot of guys are contacting me too. But I mean, usually the bulk of it has been women. The experiment is going on globally, and it's part of it's to create confusion. You're crazy, you're a nutcase, you're blah blah blah. You're full of shit. And the other one is, oh, get away from me. You might have a disease or something like that, right? Until they get hit with it. Because everybody sooner or later is going to get hit with it. That 5G is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. When they activate that, we're going to really see a lot more issues going on. And the doctors are going to have a heyday because people are going to take whatever shit they give them, and they're going to see initially some sort of maybe relief or whatever, and then afterwards, it's a major. Basically, they'll be gutted from the inside out. Gutted from the inside out. So,
could you say what is, aside from the obvious, what's the difference between men and women?
One has babies, one doesn't. One pays alimony, the other one doesn't.
I can fix that, okay? I actually paid my own. And I discharged it. I totally closed that case. I
think a lot of it is the way women see things 5 times faster than men. Okay, right off the bat, you'll see things 5 times faster. The problem with that is you get overwhelmed 5 times more.
Yeah.
Because you see all the options right away. Guys are a little bit more methodical. Well, okay, not all guys. Guys who still have their brains intact and gray matter between the ears and actually think about things other than, the obvious, will go through it one step at a time. And they're a little bit more methodical in the way they come. Then they have to deal with the women afterwards, because sometimes the women will fight with them about something because they see this, they see that, and they say, well, okay, this is what you got to do, and this is how you got to do it. Well, you got to do it this because this is what works, and sometimes that's not enough, but that's all because you get into a heated moment, and men don't know how to deal on an emotional level. They just, not that they lose it, but they're like fed up right away. Like, really, you're having a banana over here, and I figured it out, and you're still not wanting to listen. So have your banana. I'm going to go here. So you get that kind of thing going. But men see things a little bit more methodical, a little bit slower, but they get there. Women seem to be more a little bit more easier shaken about things. Men, not so much. I've embraced that. I'm ready to go. I could give a shit about this shithole. I'm at that point. The other women would they freak. Embracing death. How the hell? What? That's like a scary thing. But until you embrace death, you don't live. You always got that tether hanging over your head that you're going to die and something. You're always afraid and anxious about that. You're never going to live. So get over it. You're going to die. You're going to stand before your maker. Until then, you're here. Move on. Women are shaken a little bit easier, but women also have a certain way of an aspect to them where they can calm things down too. Not all women can do this. I find that those women who are the most active, them I have the utmost respect for more than say someone who's not awake. Those who are not awake, unless you got lightning and thunder and a sign say eat at Joe's, then you might catch my attention. But other than that, I don't really see any need for anything like that. If you're not active and you're not awake, or both, you know, awake and active. However, you'll have my attention because you need help. You might have my attention because I may be intrigued by the way you're built, or not the way you're built, but the way you look, you know, the artistic aspect of things, but not necessarily sexual, you know, just that, you know, you look pretty, you know, that's all there's to it. But that's it. That's as far as that goes. You know, unless you can show me something that you've got between your space between your ears, I can give a shit what you got, you know. But like I said, if all you got is between your legs, you know, you need to find somebody that can fill the gap until you grow up, you know, or find out something else about it. Women who are awake and women who aren't, that's where I find is a big difference. Women who are awake usually work with the males. Mm-hmm. There's a cooperation, more cooperative spirit. Okay, that I find big time. Women who are not awake, there's always this antagonism going on, you know. And I think, you know what, you can keep it. That's why I have stayed alone. I'm a happy man. I'm free. You know. Then after I learned that thing about sex and someone getting in my head,
Well, yes, I hear you. It's really, sometimes it's challenging with my partner because
well, it will be, because you're going to have your differences. If one's working and one isn't, one's at home, he's going in and out of the matrix, and that's what you're dealing with, that AI program, and that's where the friction comes in. Mm-hmm. But generally speaking, if you understand that, that makes a big difference. But like I said, generally speaking, there's more of a cooperation than an antagonism. So that's where it really makes a change. Mm-hmm. You know, and I find those are the women I call women. I don't call them female. I don't call them, you know, whatever. These are women. I respect these women. They have something to bring. They got a brain, and I'll listen to them. I will hear what they've got to say more, you know, because they're seeing something, and we're in this, and because they realize we're in a war and we're in this battle together, you know, and then, you know what, that is an ally and a friend. Let's hear what you got to say, you know. I don't want to disregard anybody's perspective here on this, because we don't all know everything here, you know.
Right. We all have bits and pieces.
That's right. So if you see something, I want to know what you see. Mm-hmm. I want to know why you're seeing that, why you're feeling this. Why are you feeling this? Why are you seeing this? Why I don't feel this, I don't sense it. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It means that you're okay. So let's pay attention here. You know, right. If men and women start looking at each other as in terms of a console, you know, like a console, and you guys are throwing, not arguing, but sharing, exchanging, cooperating, more gets done. Okay, but if you get into this antagonistic thing, where he, she, she's a bitch, he's a bastard. Well, you know what? Nothing's going to get done. Yeah. You know, and you're still playing the Matrix game, because that's what they want. They want you to be divided and conquered, so you can't get together. Mm-hmm. So if you see that kind of thing, if I see that kind of thing, someone says, well, you know, you're full of shit. Okay, you know, you're a woman. Are you active? No. Are you awake? No. Well, your opinion holds very little with me. Sorry, it may sound like a bit of an arrogance, but you hold very little. Now, you say something to me, I want to hear what you got to say. I want to hear your words. I want to hear what you're seeing. I want to see what you're seeing. I want to feel what I may not feel it, I don't have that kind of capacity, but I will understand it. Okay? That I will do. So I may not understand your feelings, but at least I can understand maybe understand what it is that you're doing, why that's happening. So that allows me to be able to compensate in that regard with you, or anybody. But that's my point. That's the difference, and that's the biggest difference. So I don't think there's the difference between men and women so much. It's between the difference those who are awake and those who aren't awake. Those who are awake are cooperating. Those who aren't awake are still fighting. You know, still in that dissension. They're still in that battle with each other. They haven't figured out that they've been set against each other to, you know, completely capitulate.
Right. And I suppose that was more of a tactic in terms of how to divide even family members. I've only got older brothers, and so I never got along with them. And that's just how it is. Yeah. But that's definitely a program as well.
You're just a girl. You're just a girl, man. Come on. You're just a girl.
I was a special girl because I was pretty strong for a girl.
You're just a girl. You know, I got Susan Mars. She's I work with her tremendously. We work together a lot. And I said, you're just a girl, you know. I always, because I tease her about that, right? Because a lot of people think that she's just a girl, but this girl's got some dynamo activity going on with those boards. She's a creative genius, really. You know,
She did a great job with that article she did
yeah,
on your blue beam work, and
yeah,
just writing that up and bringing it out, fleshing
yeah,
it out.
yeah. As I said, she's just a girl.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, she's just a girl. This is why I talk when I do my thing with the girly girls. Well, you girly girls can do this. You know, I try to incorporate. Just because you can do this, just because you got high beams doesn't mean you're incapable of anything else. You can do.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So because that's the image, that's the
Yeah.
impression. You just got a high beam and a hole, and that's it. And that's all you're good for. Really? You got 2 hands, 2 feet, and a heartbeat. Get off your ass. Let's get through this.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I come from with that a lot of times. Not not being weird or anything. Just you can do this. You're not just a girly girl. You can do this. So
Right.
a lot of times if I tease somebody who's awake, you're just a girl. They know what I mean, because I'm not saying you're just a girl. It's how other people are looking at them, not thinking taking advantage of them because they're just a girl. My ass. These girls will kick your ass and laugh at you while they're doing it. So like I said, I have utmost respect for women who are awake. I really do. And I will listen to a woman who is awake. More so than a woman just talks out of her ass. If the woman's going to talk out of her ass, I give a shit what you got to say. You might even have some truth. But if you're not going to do anything with it, what are you then?
That's true.
So, and that's how we have to start looking at things really in this regard. You can no longer look at a man and woman, you're a girl, you're a guy. No, you're awake, then you're partners. You're cooperating, you're collaborators, you're coming up with ideas, you're designers, you're artists, you're scientists, you're mathematicians, you're all that in one, You're Renaissance people is what you are.
Mm-hmm.
That's
true.
You're Renaissance people. So, and that's how everyone should be viewing each other, and that in itself has its own sex appeal, That in itself has its own sex appeal. Trust me, when you're looking at that, when a woman has that quality or the guy has a quality, okay, that he's actually using his intellect for something other than stupid, that has its own and again, it does command respect as well. It does command respect. Woman doesn't have to say I'm a woman, you got to respect me. No, if you are a woman and you got something to offer that's really of substance, that in itself will command respect, bar none, bar none. So
Awesome.
yeah. So
Those are very thoughtful words. Very thoughtful words.
Well, anybody can shoot them out.
They can. I go through the comments, and I guess some people find the videos that I've uploaded as a suggestion, and maybe it's only the first video they've just discovered Tony Pantalleresco, right? And they don't really leave. They don't have I want to say the breadth and the depth of where all you're saying is coming from, and that hurts me when they see that, and I've got to leave a little comment, and or actually it's more of a reply. And so what you've just clarified, that there really is no difference. It's really it's what it's coming out as. It's a program that they're under.
Yeah, always. When I deal with people in these comments, sometimes it sounds like I'm just being a crafty old bastard, just straight bang, But I'm hitting them right between the eyes, so it knocks them on their ass. So they get up, and if they want to fight, let's go. Okay, because I find that when somebody fights me and challenges me and I don't back down, I get more people looking at what I'm saying then, because I'm not backing down. And then when people try to come up with like there's some sort of omnipotence, little titmouse, they think they're some kind of a god, and I step on their toes and they don't like it because I've offended God here. Well, you know what, God, if you're God, then you don't need to be here. You should be somewhere else running a universe, don't you think? But anyway, they got this concept because they think they're some sort of bloody god. Well, when I kick them in the ass and show them how much ungodly they aren't, and then and make them look stupid. One day we first did the video, and we talked about soy and the dangers of soy. And this guy was a vegan, and I said vegans were stupid and all this stuff, right? And And they are. Majority of vegans are stupid. They are bloody stupid, a lot of them, you know. And they come see me and they're freaking wrecked, you know. And then you gotta get them on eggs and fish and chicken and whatever. And eat it. Shut up. You're dying. You know. This is what got you here. And you say, and it ain't fixing you. So maybe you need to pay attention, and maybe you need to eat something a little bit more than just some. You know, you're not a cow, and you don't have 4 chambers in your stomach to break this down, and it's all nano anyway. So anyway, this one guy got into this whole thing. So this guy from Ireland said to me, "Why are you dealing with this guy? I mean, obviously he's an idiot." I says, "Yes, but you missed the point. I kept saying the vegans were stupid and they don't pay attention and they are highly irrational and are illogical." Okay. And on the whole conversation, I kept asking him a question about something specific in regard to soy. And what happened? He never answered the question. He kept on with his, rambling about the universe and blah, 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 and all this bullshit. And I said, see, he proved my point. Vegans are stupid and they are irrational, you know. And the guy said, you know, I never saw that. That was, you completely way ahead of the curve on this. I said, because I've been around, I've seen what these people are like. They don't make any sense. Their whole concept of being, consuming this makes no sense. They think they can get everything from vegetables and beans because somebody pushed that bullshit on them. If you actually look at the biological value of the foods they're eating, they're very low. You actually can wind up starving to death eating this stuff. It's a balance of everything. So I'm not saying if you don't want to eat meat, you don't have to eat meat, but at least eat an egg. At least have some yogurt. At least have some cheese. That is an animal protein that your body can use. It's got the fat, the proteins, and the nutrients that your body requires. So you don't necessarily have to eat a meat, but that is considered, I consider that meat. That's from an animal source. So, or you can eat chicken, you can eat fish, eggs. You know, you don't have to eat cow if you don't want to eat cow. You know, nothing says you have to eat that type of meat, but you got to get some kind of animal protein in you. I mean, somewhere. And then they try to get, I said, look, even God ordained that you can eat cows. So if he's saying it's okay, who the hell are you? What authority do you have? You have no authority. You're a fifth, what are you, a titmouse on the planet? Shut up, go eat it, you know. So I just keep it simple that way. Like I said, I don't have time to mince words with people anymore. I'm not there to pacify them. I'm not there to kiss their ass. I'm not there to make them feel good. We're at war. The planet's dying. Get off your ass. Start paying attention. Read, study. You know, get away. Well, what can we do about it? Well, your attitude right now, not a whole lot. But once you start learning, you might be able to figure something out.
Oh, yeah, that's true. You know, on this last podcast that you did, it had like your search engines, or was it?
Links?
Yeah, the links. It was Anonymous. It was.
Anonymous. Yeah, that's a link where you can go on there because sometimes you're being monitored, right? So I can do a research now in the Netherlands or the United Kingdom or the United States. So I can just click on that and now I'm in the Netherlands or now I'm in England. Now I'm, you know, whatever. So yeah, so that's why I put it on there. So people are being, you know, manipulated by AI or whatever. They can go on there and poof, kind of thing.
No, I mean, I really appreciate that you put so much value into your podcast and you're able to get it out like that because there are so many, I'm going to say, like traps that people falling into. I Google and it's just steering where the AI can be led, or it puts you down in this little pit.
Yeah.
It's based on what's in the Gmail account.
Yeah.
And so that's this limited selection that one is not really going to be seeing other options.
Yeah. Well, like I said, the whole thing, well, you're putting it out, other people are putting them out. I think there's about 35 sites that are putting out my stuff too. So, I mean, I had no idea. One day I did a search and I typed in my name. I'm like on 20 pages. I was like, holy cow. And I'm seeing all these places that my name is popping up on. And
okay.
People, you know, are like, whoa, really? You know, I don't pay attention to that stuff. I'm too busy doing research and whatnot, right? So I don't know what the hell is up and down most of the time. A lot of my friends are telling me stuff. Like, did you know, like Suzanne told me today, we had 3.5 million people hit that last article she put out there on the Liberty Beacon. 3-some odd million people saw it. Really? Wow. Yeah, that's what I said. Wow. You know, I keep telling everybody I'm just a guy who knows some stuff. That's it. That's my shame to fame, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
That's it. You know, I can put an entitlement on it, but they're full of bullseyes, the big size of Gibraltar. I mean, oh, get that little bastard. Ooh, I'm just a guy who knows some stuff. So everybody was like that. If a guy just knows some stuff, a lot more information would get out. Even better information. So,
Are
and
you
I think
saying to use another name then?
not necessarily use another. You can,
Yeah,
you
like
can.
herbs plus feed works.
Well, anything. I mean, you can. I would. I mean, today, because of the fear of everything. I mean, you can be still traced with an IP address, but I mean, why not come up with a different name? Why make it easy for the AI? F the AI. That's my perspective. You know,
That's yeah,
make it difficult.
right,
Change your
exactly.
change your routines around. Screw the bloody thing up. Why kiss its ass? That's my personal thing.
Well, I mean, I certainly don't want to put a target on you.
No, 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 no,
It's a
nah, don't worry about. Listen, we got 7 point some odd million people that have gone on that tube. I don't even know where to find the counter anymore because they keep changing the damn thing. And
right.
3 point some odd million just read an article today. I don't think being a target or worrying about my targeting is a problem anymore. I think it's a given now that I'm there. You know,
Okay.
I'm still a small fish in a big pond. I don't see myself as anything really that you know, I'm influential to a point, I think, but I don't really see myself as some major player or anything like that. Uh, and the major players I do see, I think, are a little bit effed up, my humble opinion.
Right.
And then some of the information they're putting out is a lot of bullshit. So I think, really? So, no. Um, yeah, no, it's there now. I mean, don't worry about it. I
I mean,
mean,
I can change all of the because you're
nah, we're good. We're good. We're good. I don't want. Listen, all I care about is the message getting out there. Period. Right.
okay.
And it doesn't matter. I mean, they're going to know who's saying it anyway once they hear my voice or they see my video. Right? Oh, we know that bastard. Yeah, he's from Canada. Right.
Okay.
No, don't worry about that. I seriously don't. You know, look, a friend of mine had made this comment once. I live by it. We're already dead. We just haven't fallen down yet. And that's true for all of us. Like I said, when I leave this shithole, I'm going home. I'm going to see my maker. I'm going to give an account of what an idiot I was while I was down here. And then from there, we move on. And that's how I look at it. I win either way. I win
Yeah,
either way.
that's true.
So that's how you got to look at it. And if I have left some influence, a positive influence in somebody's life, or made a change in somebody's life, or have directed you people to even go look at even what Christ had to say, on any level, that is at least a start. Look, I always got to tell people, it wasn't for Christ, I wouldn't be here either. I should have been dead a long time ago. And it wasn't for the fact that he found me. So I wasn't looking for him. I was looking for sex and all those other stupid shit like everybody else was. He found me. So if it wasn't for, like I said, him getting off the throne, come down here and save my sorry ass, I would still be in the pit. And that's how I have to tell everybody. It's the truth. There ain't no bullshit there. That is the truth.
Mhm.
So that is the way it is. That is how it is. And if someone wants to refute that, they can kiss my Mediterranean ass. That is the truth. That is the truth. So, like I said, if that helps somebody get started to open their eyes, you couldn't find a better start.
Right.
Couldn't find a better start. It ain't going to be easy because the thing is, you get them in, the program has got to be flushed out. And that's where the fight is. And nobody ever told us this when we first got started. They told us all this other stuff. But the fight in any spiritual walk is to get rid of this dead programming that has been embedded in us. And that took me a long time to come up to this conclusion. But because we're always having struggles, we can't figure out why we keep falling back into this. And we're trying to be this, and we're trying to, we're trying to do the right thing, or we're believing in God, and we can't seem to get because we're trying to break a bloody program that has been put there. Yeah, we have the Spirit of God. That's why we're saved by grace, not by by faith. You're saved through grace, not because of works. There ain't nothing we can do down here really. That is what's going to impress God. He's built the universe, and we're going to impress him with what? Unless you can do the same thing, then maybe you can be impressive. But how are we going to impress him? So seriously, that's the fight. That is the fight. Breaking that program. breaking all this bullshit that we've been put into us. That is the fight. And allowing that other part to, replace it or take it over, or however you want to put it, to fulfill the spots that we should be fulfilling, to get the God program back in place. I guess that's the best way of putting it. To get the God program back in place, and I think that's probably the best thing I could tell anybody. Get the God program back in place. Drop the forbidden fruit program and get that one in place. And that's what all healing is all about, getting us back into the proper perspective in our connection with God. If we're not connected, we're effed. That's as simple as it gets. Very salt of the earth. Yeah. So I don't push any religion. I don't believe in any religion, to be quite honest with you. I don't care what it is. As far as I'm concerned, they all take you into a pit, take it down to a shithole. And I'm already in one of those now. I don't need to go to another one. So seriously, I think, as far as I can tell, he's the only one that's ever came back. As far as I can tell, he's the only one who knows where he's going. So it only makes sense to me. Well, since he knows it's like me going into the woods. I've never been there. Okay. So I would find a guide to get me through to the other side, because if I try it on my own, I'll never find it. So I get a guide to get me through it. Well, this is the same kind of concept here, And even when we're looking at health and other things, it's the same thing. We're just guiding each other. I'm guiding you. You're guiding somebody else, right? It's not that I have the final say. I'm just giving you some guidance to, okay, try these things. This may work. This may work. May not. But at least you can now, after trying it, start to explore your own and experiment on your own. Mm-hmm. That's the whole idea. So you become autonomous. I'm not your guru. I don't need you to strung on my, on my backside. I need you to be free. I need you to be free. And that's the whole idea. If we can set each other free, that's part of the God connection. That's part of the whole God connection. So I think that's so important that we understand that. The biggest thing we're fighting is a bad programming that we've accumulated all our lives. That is the shitty thing that we've had to deal with. And until that's completely shaken off, and then the more that gets shaken off, the less the AI has a hold on you.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I think the realization that I've come to this path is that nothing's going to make sense. But to make progress, it's really to just change one thing, and it's to not do the same thing twice. It's really to turn it around 180 degrees, and that could be the answer.
Yeah. Well,
I'm finding...
It's a start. You got to start. You got to, yeah, for sure.
Yes. For sure. What I do is private administrative work, right? I sort of take a look at different applications and see how is it that this U.S. citizenship is a status that's a political status that's really the problem, in essence. And it applies as well as a Canadian citizen or an Australian citizen, a Swiss citizen. Yeah. The big thing that happened this past weekend was we had the Full Geld initiative, and it was about full money or full gold initiative. And this is where bank accounts were not going to be fractionalized 2,000 times here in Switzerland. Mm-hmm. It would be to set everything to zero, so that all the playing ground was level. All players had an even start.
Right.
And gold is nobody's liability. That's really what it comes down to. But the people had only voted, I think it was 75% who voted no. So this Full Geld initiative did not pass. It just sort of kept the Swiss in the matrix.
Yeah. What you're talking about, there's a biblical reference called the year of Jubilee.
Oh, okay.
Every 50 years, all debts were wiped clean. Everything was wiped clean. Mm-hmm. You started over. So you're never getting into any kind of high inflammatory or inflationary type of debt at all.
Right.
And that keeps the economy free, keeps the people free. You're not entrapped to a financial system. It doesn't allow the banks to take over and control like they have today. It doesn't allow governments to take it, because now everybody starts over zero.
Right.
Everything's zero. So what they would have done there they would have reestablished that system. And if they'd done that, the whole banking system would have collapsed.
Exactly.
It would have collapsed.
Exactly.
Yeah, it would have collapsed. So I would probably say that the vote was rigged.
It appears to be.
Vote was rigged. So yeah, I know that's what should be done on a global level. No one country could dominate another country's resources because now everybody's at 0 point.
Right.
America's nothing but a ghetto with supermarkets and malls. That's all America is. And the only attraction America has, you can go shopping there and buy shit there you can't find anywhere else. That's the only real attraction there, because it's nothing but a big ghetto scene. That's all it is. From pillar to post, it's just ghetto. You got pockets of wealth here and there, but that's all it is. So when you're looking at America, what makes it so great? I have no idea. Why is it number one? I have no idea. That's the same rhetoric they go, the Germans were a superior race. We're number one. So when you're looking at all that concept of wiping out all debt, that would mean France. Can you imagine the Queen and the Pope?
They vanish.
Yeah, they would no longer be needed. You could take the icon or the idol of the Queen off the dollar and put something else on there, and you wouldn't have to give her any tribute because we're no longer in debt. We are zero debt. And as it is right now, the collapse is going to consume everything. I'm not sure what's going to happen to America because America's broke.
It's bankrupt. Well, it's not America that's broke. It's the U.S. Incorporated, and America was hijacked.
Yeah.
But it's
they were spending something like the actual deficit they have is not 19 trillion. It's like 80 trillion. That Iraq war racked up the debt like you wouldn't believe. It's just the counter was spinning like by seconds. The amount of money that they were spending to sustain that artificial bullshit. Weapons of mass destruction. Really. How come nobody goes into the United States or Russia or France or Germany and checks out all their silos? Those are weapons of mass destruction, aren't they? But that's to protect the planet. That's okay.
It's a lot of nonsense, actually.
I'm waiting for one day that Japan says, "Surprise! We got a super nuke here to wipe out all the nukes on the planet." We just while you were eating soy and going brain damage, we were working on this.
This, from what I gather, it's there's like gold underneath the palace.
Yeah.
It's stored, and it's supposed to. Well, it's only one part of the gold of the planet, and
Probably got it from Fort Knox. Because there's no gold there anymore.
No, they're not. There's not. I think that all went to the bankers.
That went to China and Japan, and possibly Rome and the Vatican or the monarchy. But that's gone. When Japan borrowed all that money, or the states borrowed all that money from Japan, they had to give them some gold to compensate it. Same with China.
Oh well, the China. I think the gold went to Japan because the Chinese got the harbors.
Yeah. So we were there was a lot of hokey pokey. Now North Korea is getting in on the game, so we'll see what happens there. Anyone, what do you mean you're cutting us out? Well, we'll blow you up. We'll blow you up. We're in Japan. We'll shoot those bastards. We know you got bases over there. So that was all a game. The whole thing was a game, and they knew that was a game.
It's a game, definitely.
So, and those missiles that were built, I don't think they were built for the United States. I think they're more for China.
From North Korea?
Yeah, I think so. North Korea knows China's a bigger threat, far bigger threat than the States. They're right next door.
Oh yeah.
So if China decides to ever become, I can't see China becoming very hostile anything. They'll just bankrupt you financially. That's what I think. But if they were to ever actually get hostile, you'd have the Philippines, you'd have Japan, North Korea, South Korea, Vietnam, the Fiji Islands, and then the other Asian country around there, Taiwan, Hong Kong. They would all be going against it. And the Asians don't fight like the Westerners. They're not taking prisoners. They're going to cut your ass. They'll take your head off and you're done with you. They're not going to, bring you back to their pre-OW camps. You're a burden. You're done. you know, that kind of thing. There, it's a whole different mindset with war. There is for keeps, but that might change too. Oh, it's business. I need 100,000. I need 100 million people dead. Okay, we'll help you out. We need 30 million dead here. Oh, we'll help you out.
This I could see. There was a curious thing that happened to me today. We had a package delivery, and the delivery man he'd asked me. Let's see. First, I had to sign for something. I put my autograph, and then I also had to pay for. I want to say pay for some fee on this package. And as I'm signing for this, the delivery man asked me, "Are you Tibetan?" And I had to sort of think about that because there are a lot of Tibetans in Switzerland. And the curious thing is, the Tibetans. So I have this theory that the Dalai Lama is sort of the head of this Tartary empire because he has like Barack Obama kind of a feel, And the big thing is they're all kind of like one group.
Yeah.
They're all one group, really. Yeah. Let's see. And the curious thing is that there are these physical attributes that those from the Tartary, those descendants from the Tartary have. And there's the hairy Swiss, who are the real Swiss, and then there are the hairless Swiss. Their legs are like got no hair. And it's one of those things where when this delivery man asked me if I was Tibetan, it just went bang. Oh my gosh, I'm a descendant of the Tartary Empire because I've got no hair on my legs. And it's this curious thing where like I'm not at all like my brothers. And it's not just because I'm a girl, right? It's more that this.
You don't have hair on the chest either, so.
Actually, I got one little hair down there. One little long hair.
That might be a fullerene.
That could be a fullerene, yeah.
Be a fullerene. Yeah, that's not necessarily hair. Yeah, so. Yeah.
It's curious just because what it comes down to is people can be controlled to do certain things. And what did I hear? I heard that, okay, so where I was going was Republic, flags with stars.
Yeah.
They're all part of the same group. It was created.
Yeah, and they have factions all over.
So
one controls this section, one controls that section, one controls that, and then they coordinate.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
They coordinate, yeah. And then they bring this group here. Do you ever wonder why there's an immigration of so many Asians coming over? And they seem to take over a whole area, and they give them that area, and nobody bothers them. They got their own little world.
Exactly.
The Italians had the same thing when they first came over. The mafia and all controlled them. And that's all part of the Vatican, the Knights Templar, Knights Malta. So yeah, it's all fractionalized. The protocols of Zion, those aren't Jews. Those are actually Jews. They're not people of Israel, and they're causing Israel all the problems that they're having. So so you got a lot of this going on, and it's just and this I don't see where that. Like I said, I can't see it. This system will have to be completely cooked. You never get rid of it. You never get rid of it. It's like a hydra. To take off one head, two pop up. There's no stopping unless you burn it. Burn it down. Mythology of Hercules was that he had to fight this multi-headed hydra. So he cut one head, two would grow. And finally, when he cut the head, I figured if he burned it, it wouldn't grow back and it died. Well, that's what we're dealing with today. Same thing. You cut one head, two will pop up. Well, the only way you're going to get rid of it is just basically have to burn it off the planet. Well, How's the planet supposed to end? By most cultures, by fire. Because it's that embedded into the abyss or into the deep. Look up sometimes the term the deep.
Oh, I did.
In regard to the AI. It's mind-boggling. It is mind-boggling, that whole thing.
It goes back to the 80s where there was neural networks.
Yeah.
And in the UK, they had done this documentary on developing neural networks. My son's father was, just as a hobby, developing neural networks in the 80s.
Yeah.
And he was a software or a computer programmer that had worked in the financial industry. The scary thing is he was working in San Francisco on what would be the San Francisco Wall Street.
Yeah.
Then they brought him over to the New York Wall Street. And then this is when the problems started, because this is when the internet was at its very early stages. It really wasn't for the consumers.
Right.
But he was bringing in fax machines to Wall Street in New York. And then they brought him over to London. And when he came back from London over to San Francisco again, that's when he was evicted. All of his whole apartment was just trashed and everything thrown out the window. And then that's when the real targeting happened for him. And it was then that I met him, and it was like, we were sitting down watching this neural network documentary, and I realized when you brought that up, that's actually where I was going. It was blue beam, the nanotechnology, neural networks. It is the next layer. I mean, they need all these mathematicians and computer programmers to develop the AI.
Yeah.
It is developing to that point, but the next step is this deep learning.
Yeah.
And that's the neural networks that's able to do the pattern recognition. And that's the scary part.
Yeah.
It's like I got goosebumps just piecing that all together, because
that's something that's going to monitor you morning, noon, and night. It's going to figure out every algorithm, every predictable. Right now, it's got a predictability program of about 83% or something like that, 86%. Mm-hmm. It might be up to 93 by now. But I mean, once that is in place, there's nothing this thing is not going to be able to figure out you're going to do or read. And if and again, you have access to any kind of nano technology, carbon C60 or a silicon material, you are going to be access. You'll have access here. There's no way you wouldn't be able to have access. The frequencies, it would basically resonate with whatever frequency you're running at, match it, and then intercept whatever you're doing. So yeah, it's the concept of no flesh would be saved is what it means. There won't be anything left because it'll interface with whoever and then incorporate you into its algorithms, and then modify your program to fit its syntax.
Right. So aside from taking out the light bulbs or the LED light bulbs and those halogen light bulbs.
Well, again, you see, I'm wearing this. I wore this the whole time you and I were talking.
Right.
This thing's firing blue beam. You're watching a movie. It's in Blu-ray. Why Blu-ray? Think about that.
That's where they're sending out these messages.
That's right. So your cell phone, blue beam. I go into a store and they got two sets of lights. One's a halogen, one's a blue beam. You can see the difference. Seeing a yellow moon and then seeing blue beams coming from the moon. They're going to the moon. What's going on? Because they've got these things going all over. You ever watch Lucy?
I only saw a trailer, but it looks like a very fascinating movie. It is.
It's very fast. It's like Limitless. There's a scene in there where she's sitting in the car and her brain had evolved, and now she's like 60%, and she could actually see the frequencies, and she could actually manipulate them, because she could actually see them and manipulate them. Well, that's what the AI will be able to do.
So, I found this one study where 750 milligrams of copper is it's the maximum amount for a body that's 150 pounds.
Okay.
And could you see that there's any benefits to increasing
copper for sure? I mean, incrementally in small amounts, it has a lot of benefits.
No,
especially
yeah.
for the immune system and as a biocidal. You said 750 milligrams for 100?
750 milligrams for
Yeah.
150-pound body.
Yeah, again, I don't think you need that much, but I mean, okay. As I still am conservative, so
Yeah, yeah.
I'm still taking like anywhere between 20 and 60 milligrams.
Okay.
So of copper.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not seeing any negative effects with this.
Right.
Okay, and I'm also taking high amounts of zinc as well. But zinc, you got to be careful. That one will make you barf if you take too much at once. The copper doesn't. So I mean, if you need it, yes, for sure, but incrementally.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, every couple hours or something. But I mean, I would probably in any condition like that, I'd probably start off light anyway, because you may
Okay.
not need that much. You may say you only need 40 milligrams.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 750 milligrams is it's a little bit more than what you might need.
Well, it's like, yeah, like I'm only 110, so it'd be like I do
About
560.
600, 600. Yeah, I mean, but again, yeah, if you're doing 60, I don't think there'd be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think because of all the other things that have been taken out of us, I think that's probably par. Yeah. So again, no, I don't see a problem with it.
Well, it's
Small increments. 750, maybe you might be pushing it, unless
mhm.
you're, unless you're fighting some kind of pathology that is highly toxic.
I'm thinking of it in terms of if I could top up the copper and zinc ratio properly. I'm thinking I'd be able to, or wanted to experiment, but try to overcome this blue beam internally. I would
Um,
still use a shield, or excuse me.
I think you can fortify yourself to a point, but I think oversaturation may not be the answer either.
Uh,
Like I said, there's only so much your system, and then you might even cause a cascading effect on the inside, making you more susceptible to it even more so. Like I said, you'd be better off going up slightly, slowly up
mhm.
to whatever point, and then just stay there, because that's where you'll find you're going to get the bigger bang anyway.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, again, I'm more into using fats and liposomes or chlorides, because again, they're going where they're going, and they're reinforcing the cells and the conductivity of the cells, and keeping the cells clean and helping purging out the nano. So I'm using the proteins more now with even minerals, like I use trisodium phosphate with my protein powders, and I add calcium chloride with it. Again, calcium chloride has a way of deadening magnetic fields.
Okay.
Calcium has a way of deadening. So again, and I'm only using very little, because you don't need a lot of that either.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're looking at some of the things that we're doing, sometimes a small amount goes a long way. Too much can cause boom. So I'd rather be even if I'm at halfway up,
Okay.
consistent. I'm going to be strong enough to say, F this. If I'm not, if I need to go up, I can always go up.
Mhm.
But again, do it in an incremental way, so you're not getting to a point where all of a sudden you're going, you know, I
Right.
won't, I won't do that again.
Well, when I first tried the copper, I made a copper colloidal,
Yeah,
and it just opened up my chi. My meridians were like,
yeah.
and I had like diarrhea of the mouth, and my sense of humor, it was just killing my partner. He said, "Stop it," because I was just like razor sharp, and it was yikes.
Your brain got reactivated. Zinc
Yeah.
and copper both keep the brain where it's at.
Mhm.
Passion's another one for willpower. So yeah, you'll definitely, yeah. But again, sometimes little goes a long way.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Some of you find a little bit is all you really need, and if you just sustain that, you're good.
Oh yeah.
Dave will be coming out soon with another video with, maybe, I'm not sure which one's next, but we did how to make your own copper chloride and zinc chloride, which is super easy. So, and that I prefer the chlorides over any other form at this stage, even with the zinc sulfate or copper sulfate, because I'm looking at the salt and the concept of what it's doing,
Mhm.
my charge, my cells, whatever. So, yeah, liposome or chlorides, I think, are probably the best bet.
Okay. Yeah. This
Mhm.
actually today I had made it was a sunflower oil and grapeseed oil in my copper pot with a whole bunch of estrogen blocking herbs.
Pretty soon you're going to walk around with an erection. Everyone's going to say, "What'd you do? What'd you do?" I this is this herbalist from Canada, and this is the
He
result.
turned me on.
She can now do push-ups with no hands.
I'm levitating.
Levitating. There you go. Well, that's good. That is good.
No, but thank you so much for putting out your material. And
well, I got to thank you because you're putting it out too, and I'm grateful you're doing it. It's like I said, saving me a lot of time. You know, I'm already spread thin, and you're doing that. And I'm going to keep on doing it. Don't worry about anything. Seriously, don't. Look, they already know where we live. They already know who we are, what we are, and all that other bullshit. So, you know, they already know that we're not going to capitulate anyway. So until we win or till we go to the other side, we're here. So that's how I look at it, and we'll just go do our thing, and to hell with them. You know, they're gonna. If you don't do nothing, they fuck you. If you do something, they fuck you. So why not do something and just, you know, make it a good go. You know,
right.
And you never know what could happen. You know, if you don't do nothing, nothing happens. If we do something, you never know what we may be able to turn it around. You never know. And so I don't like losing. I'm one of those guys that I play to win. So, you know, if I didn't think we had a chance, I wouldn't be playing the game. But you know what? I think we got a good chance. I think the more people wake up, the more things will get better. And if it doesn't necessarily get better for the world, at least it will get better for those who are awake, because they will form a network. And eventually there will be a separation. I do see that up the way. If things get to a point where nobody's going to change or do anything anymore, and people they're going to pool their resources like they did in the early church, they're going to take off and they're going to build their own little communities. They're going to build their own defense perimeters. They're going to come up with their own anti-AI technology, and it's going to be a whole different ballgame. And I can see that. I do see that. You know, I work night and day on that kind of concept all the time. And anti-AI, anti-nano, anti-tech. I'm just so fed up with it. You know, anything I can do to neutralize this shit or figure a way to neutralize this shit, that's I'm going to work to try to figure out. But again, everybody will come to that conclusion. I can, you know, rest assured that everyone, if they haven't thought about it, they'll start. You know, or if they haven't started, if they've been thinking about it, they'll start working on it. You know, I can see that.
Right.
You know, and it may not sound like it may sound like I don't see that as a bad thing necessarily. I want nothing to do with the shithole. It has done nothing for me, really, except take things from me, you know, or cause me a lot of grief and pain. So really, well, I got nothing here, so I must build something better. You know, that's the only way to look at it. Only way that I can see. So, you know, that's pretty much it. You know, I mean, you pretty well got me in a nutshell. What you see is what you get. Nothing, no frills here. You know? You know.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Listen, anytime you want to come on my show, let me know. You know, it's you know, I'll just say call in or whatever, or we'll try to figure ways to get you connected, and the way you can go and you can talk away, because they hear me all the time. You can come in and talk. I always like getting more people who are awake to come in and do their thing.
Okay. You have let's see, the timing is a little off for me when you have your program.
Yeah, I think it's about 3 a.m. your time there probably, but
yeah.
take that anti-estrogen stuff and be all testosterone up, and you'll be ready to
go. Okay. Well, I did make a different formula for my partner. That one's just the olive oil with the herbs.
Be careful it doesn't lose his hair, because that can increase DHT, right? So use marjoram.
Marjoram. Okay.
Yeah, that blocks DHT.
Okay.
Yeah.
Marjoram's not good for you, though. Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's not.
Marjoram. Sorry.
Yeah.
So the oregano family.
Okay. Yes. Okay. I'll do that.
Not margarine, marjoram. Sorry.
Okay. I heard you now.
Yeah.
I got you. All right.
So that blocks DHT, and so does nettle root.
Nettle root. Okay. Yeah. I have to
So
find some of that, because I don't find it here.
Well, then use the Mediterranean stuff. It'd probably be better anyway, because especially if it's coming from the Mediterranean, it'd be much more potent. So yeah, use that.
Okay.
All right.
I'll do that. Well, thank you again. This may take a while to put together, but.
Okay, when it does, just send me a thing. It's up, and I'll direct everybody to it so they can hear it. Okay. They can hear our conversation, and be entertained and say, "Oh man, he actually said that."
I may just do some editing, but probably not.
I don't really think there's that much to really edit. I mean, there really wasn't anything that strong said. There might have been a couple of times, but nothing really, not that I can think of anyway. But then again, I have a different angle on you know, strong language, salt of the earth language, as opposed to being eloquent and whatnot. So, eloquence just puts people to sleep, I find. So, speaking the proper terminologies and whatnot, but if it's very salt of the earth, you got everybody's attention. What did he say? Did he just say? What did he say? So yeah.
Okay, I will do that. I'll send you a link when it's all ready. Thank you again.
Sounds good. All right, thank you. I appreciate it. And I appreciate what you've been doing too. I really do.
My pleasure.
All right, you have a good night, eh?
Thank you. You too. Good night.
All right.
Okay.